completely fucking made up. And Tony Bruno is a goddamn fucking agent. Uncle Gun's a goddamn agent. And same thing with Woody Johnson is a goddamn fucking agent. They're all fucking agents. This guy, I think Tony Bruno might actually be Satan himself. I'd have to get a look at his eyes, probably why he wears those fucking glasses. But he's definitely on the payroll. Same thing with Uncle Guns. He's definitely on the payroll as well.
So
I realise that some people don't like me. But I also realise that I highly don't give a fuck.
Yeah, man, we are live.
Yeah.
I don't have glasses on tonight, so you can see my eyes. But I want to welcome everybody. We got a special guest tonight. It's Varun. And Varun has been a fixture on all sorts of streams, man. So it's awesome to have him here tonight. I'm going to open up the panel probably in about 30 minutes. But yeah, man, we're live. It's Thursday Night Reality Check with Varun. And I want to bring a little attention to that little clip at the beginning. And that is by, I think it's the guy, bro. It's kind of funny. I've never seen this guy before. He made a little video. And you think, you think that I'm into conspiracy theories. This guy, the guy, bro, he is... I would imagine it's satire. At least I hope it is. But anyways, to all my other agents out there, and it's good to see you guys tonight. All my agents in the chat. So especially Woody Johnson. I believe he's been. We were talking in the office the other day. I think he got a promotion. So, but yeah. So we got our special guest tonight, Varun. Varun, how you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. Let's get a little music on here so we can get a vibe going, and we're gonna get right into this. All right, here we go. I think this is what I want. All right, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Of course, Dark Blade, Woody Johnson, Primal Studies. Who else do we got here? I don't know. If you're in the chat, say hello. That's for sure. Yeah, we're going to rock and roll tonight with Varun. Well, everybody welcome. It's going to be a fun night. All right, Varun, as like I said earlier, you've been a feature throughout different streams. I've seen you, and you are in India, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you are Hindu. That is your religion.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us the breakdown of Hindu religion?
Basically, Hindu religion, it is a monotheistic religion. There is one universal God. He is Parabrahma, and he has created the entire universe for us human beings, for our souls to be incarnated over here, to experience everything actually, good, evil, misery, pain, sorrow, bliss, joy. Basically, everything that we go through in life is predestined, and it's an experience meant for the soul. In the unmanifested universe from where we came from, these experiences don't exist. The universe that God created, actually, it is a paradoxical universe, which is a mixture of contradictions, actually, like where there's a unification of contradictions. Over here, actually, you can see, actually, like there are a lot of contradictory forces that unite, without which you can actually not have, without which one cannot exist without the other, actually. Without good, you can't have bad. Without bad also, you can't have good. And actually, like I've noticed one thing, they always curse God that evil is like this, evil is like that. They blame God at times, but sometimes evil actually helps. Evil acts as a catalyst and helps the person to become stronger during these times of adversities. So basically, every event that happens in a person's life, right from his cradle to his grave, it's predestined. Our souls have to incarnate over here to learn our lessons. We might think that we're here to try to fulfill our desires, but even that is actually like a lesson, actually. We've come here to experience everything.
Explain a little more in depth, because that's one of my questions. So our lives are predetermined. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Everything, actually, like which family you will be born into, who will become your wife, how your children will look, what profession will suit you, if a job will suit you, or if a business will suit you, or if you'll do no work at all, whether you'll die in an accident or whether you will cross the age of 90, all of it is actually like it'll be destined, it'll be written before you're born itself over here. And when you look at a person's palm, the hands, the designs, the lines that are present on the palm, they're not random designs. They are actually a map of all that is present in your genes. So when you actually look at a person's palm, you'll be able to make out from cradle to grave what all he'll experience. Actually, like I think if you look at this is the part of this is known as the mount of the moon, and I think this is the headline actually, and then this is the heart line, then the fate line and the lifeline. So they'll be able to determine a lot of things as to what the person will experience by looking at his palm itself.
Does the Hindu religion tie in with astrology? Because it seems
heavily. Like they'll think astrology is superstitious nonsense, but from my experience, I've been to many astrologers, people who can just like if I tell their name itself, the image of how that person looks, he'll enter into their mind, and they'll be able to say if that guy will do well or not in life. All this is pretty true as well. So it's heavily intertwined actually.
Well, explain it a little more deep. Like when we'll say Western society thinks of astrology, it ties in with the stars, with your horoscope signs. How does that tie in with Hindu religion?
No, there have been. This is not even supernatural. There have been many documentaries made. In that, I think it showed actually scientists themselves have made this documentary. They showed how life on Earth will be without the moon actually, and they've shown how the moon is very important in sustaining complicated life forms like human beings. If the moon were not there, the lunar radiation from the moon actually sustains complicated life forms. Without that, Earth will be like very chaotic. And they've also shown as well how regulated amounts from the sun's radiation actually helps the Earth. If the ozone layer was not there, actually the intense heat from the sun would again destroy the Earth. So the cosmic bodies that you see in space are very very their involvement is very necessary for the evolution and the sustenance of complicated organisms on human life. It's not even done by astrologers, like it's done by scientists. So the shows actually like how the cosmos to a great extent is very necessary in sustaining human life on Earth, without which we can't live. So when you take astrology into consideration, that's why they make it from a heliocentric principle, it's converted into a geocentric principle. The Earth is made as a center of the universe, and we have to examine how every zodiac sign and how every planet actually, and how every constellation, how their rays actually help in the evolution of mankind. It's very very important actually, because the lunar light it does cause high tides and low tides. So actually the movement of heavenly bodies when observed through the horizon will be instrumental in determining what kind of natural disasters will take place, if droughts will happen, if famines will happen, if earthquakes will happen. So many astronomers and astrologers have been able to predict this itself. Like they were able to make out when Saturn entered this sign, there'll be drought for so many years. Or if Rahu and Ketu are the devil in our religion. So if they enter into this sign, there'll be earthquakes. And like if this planet is actually in this sign, there'll be floods as well. So it's been proven many times, and it's not just some fictitious concept.
Now, let me ask you a question. I've heard that also moonlight is important in growing plants. Have you heard that?
Yeah. It's important. Without that, they've shown the documentary how the Earth will exist without the moon. It'll be very very. The Earth will be like it'll be like kryptonite after it's destroyed. Actually, without the moonlight. Moonlight is very very. You've seen Planet Krypton in these comics. How it will be after it's destroyed, right? That's how life on Earth will be without the moon. The moon, after in Indian astrology, the most important planet is Saturn. Saturn is the very force behind all your experiences. After that, it's the moon, because it cools and nourishes you and it rules your mind. So if the moon is not right in your horoscope, then you'll be mentally you'll be a person who's insane, and you won't be able to do anything properly in life, because like your mind won't be functioning well. So whenever
that's where we get the word. I mean, you think of the word lunatic.
Yeah.
The word lunatic. A lunatic is somebody who's crazy, right?
Yeah, they will examine the moon. They will see which constellation it is in. Taking the moon as a very important reference, they'll be able to determine in every phase of your life how your life will be in so many years, how your life will change in this year. I've seen it all actually. My friend was there, right? My friend's mother, she got his whole life story written by an astrologer. Now, that astrologer wrote about her and her husband and her son, both her sons. She said that, I mean, in his book, it was given that at such and such an age, your husband will quarrel with his own siblings, his own brothers. They will cheat him. They will ruin the whole family's fortune. They had 3 factories and they were manufacturing automobile parts. She thought it was all rubbish. That came true. The elder brother, he was not good at handling finances. He started making bad investments, and he destroyed the family's fortune. And they quarreled a lot. And in the end, they were left with nothing. And they had also given, in such and such a year, your husband's leg will be afflicted with this disease. That also became true. Then they had written that your son, actually, he'll get involved in a car crash and he'll kill someone. This was written before, when he was just born itself. It was written in the book. In such a year, actually, he did OD on drugs, and he killed a person in a car crash. Then he said that he will change from architecture to making movies, and that also happened. Then he said that your second son will settle down in the US. He'll go to Chicago, and he'll become what do you say, an engineer over there. That also became true. So it was just written in a book when all of them were born, and she showed it to me. So that's pretty scary, and that actually like became very, very true. And even for my friend is there, he's my neighbor. The astrologers actually came over there, and they looked at his father. They said that his father will become paralyzed. So what happened was that one day his father was collecting rent from the tenants, and he was walking on the road. Then suddenly a person in the bike came, hit him, and sped off quickly. When he fell down, his head hit the pavement. After that, his brain started not functioning properly, and then he started motor sensory function started becoming dull, and he was bedridden as well. So I've seen these things happen, and they're very, very true actually.
Who does now? Who is it a yogi who gives you like your? Who does this? In other words, who tells your fortune or who tells your life ahead of time? What is the name of the person that does that? Is it a yogi, or is it who is it?
A yogi can't tell. An astronomer, what he'll do is he'll take your date of birth, your time of birth, and your place of birth into consideration. He'll be able to say your place, taking your place of birth, time of birth, and date of birth into consideration. He'll be able to map out your whole life. Now, a yogi, what he'll do is he'll just look at your face, and then he'll be able to tell your whole life's events without taking anything, without using any kind of instrument. Yogis can even say what you were in your previous birth, what you'll become in your future birth as well. They're very, very advanced. They've got the power of clairvoyance. The third eye will be open.
So we'll get into the third eye here, but so let me ask you a question. If you're destined for a short life, or you're destined for failure, is there anything you can do to change it?
No, you'll have to go through it, and then you'll have to be reborn and start from scratch. Because there was one person, he was having difficulties, and he showed his photo to an astrologer. That guy looked at his photo, went into a trance, and he got to know that he'll die in an accident. His head will get crushed by a lorry. So he gave him back his money and sent him off. And then within 6 months, when that guy was going on his bike, a lorry hit him, and it ran over him, and it crushed his head.
Oh,
so geez. Yeah, that's what happened. And then like in such a case, the soul will have to wait to be reborn again, and it'll have to start from scratch.
So yeah. Hindu religion, you do believe in reincarnation then, correct?
Yeah.
And Well, tell me about it. Like, tell me about how it works, reincarnation.
Basically, 1 minute. I'll just read it out a little bit to you.
Okay. Hope everybody's enjoying this. I'm already enjoying it, guys. So we're going to get deep tonight. I'm going to open up the panel here too shortly. So if anybody wants to come on and talk with Varun, ask some questions. Again, tonight is an evening with Varun. We're going to talk about Hindu philosophy, and just talk with Varun. That's what's up. So,
damn, where is it?
Take your time. Take your time. That's all we got tonight. Hope everybody's doing good. Any questions for Varun for right now? Let's get them in the drop them in the chat. Absolutely. So.
Where did it go, man?
All right, take your time.
Yeah.
If anybody has any opinions on reincarnation, drop your thoughts in the chat, fellas and ladies.
Basically, real creation. So yeah, I think over here I can narrate a little bit about reincarnation. Only when the sperm, which will only that sperm which will provide the specific hereditary required by the spirit who should take birth will be selected by the egg. The sperm having the strongest runanubandhana or karmic debt with the ovum is always the winner. If the child is meant to be born blind or deformed or mentally retarded, only that spermatozoa which fits the bill in its entirety will make it to the egg. Gahana karmano gati. The ways of karma are profoundly deep. Sometimes even when there are plenty of sperm, they run into a no vacancy sign when they try to meet the egg. If there is no jiva with sufficient runanubandhana, or if the horoscope which would result will not fit the requirements of the jiva, or if there is some curse, you may pour in liters of semen and still conception will not occur. If there is enough runanubandhana to attract some jiva, then that disembodied spirit will impel the sperm and ovum to meet. When they unite, the two become one. Duality is ended. But this unity, like the unity of orgasm, is very temporary. Because of the overwhelming joy of the union, the sperm and ovum procreate and form billions of cells. As the zygote begins to divide, duality begins again. Until the heart starts to beat, the jiva is in a state of bliss, at one with Krishna, in a state of union with the absolute. Once the heart starts to beat, personalized existence begins. Separation from the beloved. The jiva really begins to self-identify with the fetus only after the heart starts to beat. The jiva enters the zygote at the moment of conception, to be sure. Otherwise, growth and movement would never occur. We say, though, that life really begins in the 4th month, and after the 7th month, the jiva has a firm grip on the fetus, because it is then that fetus becomes viable if premature labor occurs. The jiva in the womb, that jiva means soul. Jiva in the womb has a memory of past lives. That explains why the fetus kicks and moves about. It recalls its past freedom and resents being trapped in a
Let me
cramped
pause
womb.
you right there. Let me pause you right there. So what you're saying is, I caught something that you said. So the obviously once the egg is fertilized, the sperm is basically in the egg. What you said is basically it remembers a past life. Is that the idea? Is this when the reincarnation starts?
No, basically, actually, the spirit that will have an affinity for the parents that will conceive it, it will get attracted to them, and then actually it helps in dragging that specific sperm and uniting it with the ovaries actually. Then when the womb is being formed in the when the fetus is being formed in the womb, I think somewhere in the 4th month or something, like the spirit will enter into it. And when the spirit is inside the womb, it will have a memory of all its previous births. It will know what it is. That is why actually when it comes out, it's very traumatic. Like it now realizes that it has to again go through the cycle of birth and death again. It's very complicated that way. Otherwise, see, even sperms are also living beings. When a man releases the semen, all those million sperm should enter and millions of children should be born, right? Only one sperm enters, and it being fated to what do you say, meet with that specific ovary and give birth to that specific child is what takes place. Otherwise, something illogical should be happening, like the way I said. That doesn't happen, right? That's how it is.
I've got a question here for you from Alexio. Do you want to answer this question quick and we'll move on?
Yeah, okay.
So ask Varun if his life was predicted by the yogi to this point.
Yeah, many things actually. Like, he took my photo and he said a lot of things, and it just became true because his teacher is 2,500 years old. So that person is still somewhere alive in the Himalayas. So he got it from him. He actually, like, what happened was that astrologer, this yogi came one day. He told him to go to a particular place, like these caves in Ajanta, and then on that specific day he put his foot on his head. From then onwards, he started getting answers to many different problems and things like that. So somehow I got to know about it, and I went to him, and he was able to predict my life.
And how accurate has he been to this point?
Everything he said came true, actually. I mean, like, he just needs the photo, and that's the end of it. He doesn't need the horoscope. Other astrologers will take the horoscope, or they'll take your palm. Some will look at your shadow and predict many things. Some will just look at the way you walk, and they'll be able to predict a lot of things. So this person just needs your photo, and he'll be able to say a lot of things.
Okay. I'm trying to look at the questions here. There he goes. Lexio's got some good questions tonight. Ask for him to explain how they removed reincarnation from Christianity, the Bible.
Yeah, it was actually the church in Constantinople. They thought that if reincarnation was allowed to exist in the minds of human beings would become too addicted to materialism. They would delay their true purpose of meditating on God. They would think, okay, fine, if I don't get it in this birth, anyway, there'll be another birth. Let's just relax and take this slowly. So the church wanted to hasten the spiritual evolution of the man very quickly. So what they did was they removed the concept of reincarnation, and then they said that you only have one life. If you don't live a pious life, you will go to hell towards the end of your life. So they tried to use fear and intimidation to see to it that people became more moral, but it backfired. People thought that, okay, we've just got one life. We have to do everything that we can to make it big in the materialistic world. So instead of concentrating on God, they focused all their energies on attaining more materialistic wealth and pleasure. The church in Constantinople removed the concept of reincarnation from Christianity.
Yeah, you did a good job explaining that. So it's almost like it's what you're saying is like they shamed people into living this life and not expecting another life. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, they wanted to, they like wanted to make people get devoted to God very to such an extent that if they were very devoted to God in one life, then the cycle of rebirth and death, like the number of times that they would have to be reborn, would be decreased. Like, they would be able to liberate themselves from the cycle of birth and death at a faster rate. But it backfired in the end.
So what happens to a person that lives this godly life and then is reincarnated?
He'll be like, let's say he would have done a lot of austerities and penance, and he'll reincarnate into a good family. He'll be born in a prosperous country. Life will be good for him, actually. Like, he'll be blessed with all kinds of conveniences since birth, and he'll be also very attractive to look at. Everything will go smoothly for him on the materialistic path. You've noticed this also. One more thing, many people actually can't answer this. I've noticed this. There are a lot of people, they're born into wealth, and many times whatever they touch, even the dust they touch, it turns into gold. So how do you explain that? And then there are very smart people also. How much ever they try, they don't go on top. Like, scientists are really the smart people, but I've never seen them make money. And then businessmen just take risks, they take chances. They take the ideas that these scientists have created. Somehow they just take a chance despite competition in that industry being there, and then they make it big, actually. So many big people I've noticed, they're just like lucky, actually. Like, whatever they touch just becomes gold. You've seen that many times as well.
Yeah, and that's the saying. I mean, the saying that I grew up was money always goes to money.
Yeah.
Saying when I grew up. So
I've also seen this. There's a saying in my country, the goddess of wealth and the goddess of knowledge are enemies. Like those who are very, very smart in life, they don't make it that big. Those who are very lucky in life only make it very big. And that's true actually. I've seen so many intelligent people. Where are they actually? Like these people who are not very like smart, they just take a chance and they become big. Like the real estate business, it was booming very well in my city, so everyone went into the real estate sector. Many people got their hands burnt. Only a few big builders are doing well today. That's it. So everything is not meant for everyone.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, do you think that, I mean, if somebody is destined to be a bum,
Yeah.
is that just in their, that's just the way it is?
Yeah, that is the way it is. Because my friend actually, he failed in like after like you have 11th and 12th grade, we have PUC, like second year PUC and first year PUC, pre-university college education. He took up science. He didn't do well over there, and then after that he was institutionalized for 15 years, 15 to 18 years, for being insane. Then he came out. Then after a lot of struggle, he took up something very easy like social studies, and then somehow he graduated from that. But he's not doing anything in life, and it was given that like he'll be like this only. So like these things actually are true. If a person is not meant to do anything, he's not meant to do anything. That's it. Even if he's intelligent also.
This is a good question Timbo has. What are your thoughts on generational curses?
Yeah. That thing they say, if you commit a mistake, that curse will visit your family's generation for 7 generations together. That's also true. If your ancestors would have done something very bad, their mistakes will hit you as well for 7 generations. That saying is not without. I mean, that saying has its basis in reality. It's not a fictitious concept.
Mm-hmm.
Your
You're getting a lot of good questions here.
your ancestors actually, that's why actually you have to there are rituals after your parents die. You have to worship your ancestors, because if it wasn't for your great great grandfather, you wouldn't have had this body. So you'll have to perform certain kind of rituals known as pitri tarpana and help them out. If you help them evolve, they'll bless you and you can move on. Otherwise, I've seen this is also a very strong curse in many people's lives, why they don't make it. They wouldn't have properly worshipped the spirits of their ancestors. They would have cursed them and they would have gone insane. And whatever they do, no matter how hard they work, they won't be able to move ahead in anything in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joshua has a question. Is your level of success in one life based on how well you did in a past life? Does that motivate you to become a better person?
Yeah, it does, because like in one life, like you take princes and people born into royal families, they've got everything. They don't need to shed a drop of sweat for their entire lives. Like until death, all their materialistic needs and wants are taken care of. Then you have some people who are struggling very hard in life, and some people would have struggled and made it very big in life. But not everyone who struggles makes it big in life. But you have this person who's born into riches. So how do you explain that? You past life is a very good indicator of this phenomena occurring in our world.
Primal has a follow-up question. Is generational success also a thing then?
Yeah, probably there is a saying, from being sleeveless, after 3 generations of wealth, again one becomes sleeveless. So even if a blessing and a curse can't last forever, so let's say like somehow he would have done something good, he'll build up his family fortune. You've seen many dynasties, they've gone to the heights of power and they've crumbled down after 3 to 4 generations. That you can create wealth for some generations, but eventually it will go off. A blessing and a curse can't last forever.
Okay. Well, I just dropped the link in the chat, so I opened up the panel. So anybody wants to come on and chat with Varun, we're going to continue on here for sure. So let me put a little music on so we can chill. Back to the comments. Yeah, a lot of good comments here tonight. Himbo says, the more I live, the more I believe he's right, but I can't throw in the towel. I like that attitude. Let me ask you a question. I'm reading these. You're going to get this question a lot tonight. What's your page? That's what I'm saying. You need to start your YouTube channel and just start talking, as Varun.
Okay.
I've been saying that for a while, and that's why I got you on here tonight. Maybe feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
But I think this is really interesting. So again, the live link is in the chat, you guys. I'm going to pin it right now. So where is it here? So let's feel free to come on tonight. Tonight is a chill night. We're going to relax, and as Varun's going to answer all your questions. There's a question that I have since we're on. Since we can kind of this will, I guess this will tie in with with the reincarnation. But you have talked about, and I know you've talked about this before, which is semen retention. You say that it's a good thing. I want you to kind of explain why. I think in this.
Yeah, I'm just saying in today's world, it's not possible because pornography and naked women are present on your cell phone. Just with the click of a button or a swipe of your fingers, you can get access to pornography. I'm just saying that semen retention will help the person evolve to higher levels because semen is, I think there are 7 types of tissues actually: the bone, then the flesh, the fat actually in the body, the bone marrow, and even your semen is the final product. So these 7 tissues, if there's something wrong with even one of them, then all of them will start functioning properly. This semen actually is a very vital fluid, and if it's preserved actually and it's converted more into your ojas. Ojas is the very source of your metabolic energy. It exists in connection with your nervous system, your brain, and your heart. It's the vital essence of your body. What needs to be done is to preserve the semen and convert it into ojas. Then you can convert the body into a light body, and you can stop aging, and you can keep death at bay. These yogis who live for 260 years, 300 years, they have not touched a woman in their life. Or people who live for 20,000 years, 30,000 years. There was one person actually, he lived for 30,000 years. His name was Boganathar. He also never touched any woman in his whole life. If you look at the Taoist religion in China, this guy was the one who went from India and started it. He had actually, there is a pill for immortality. He was able to create that and consume it. He was able to live that long by practicing semen retention. But in today's world, it's not possible. That's all. If I have to give the detail of it, it will be very long. I'll need a whole video to elaborate on why retaining the semen is very important. It will go into pages, that's why.
Yeah, I guess that's where the saying would come that woman will be the death of you. So yeah, I guess that's...
in today's world, it's not possible. I'm just saying how important it is. That's all.
I've got Mike backstage. I got to make sure it's him. I got to put up a shield here.
Yo.
All right, that's you. Good to have you on.
Yo, ask Varun in the building.
Yeah.
Right. Tonight it's all about Ask Varun, and I can bet you got some questions for him tonight.
Yo, tell us about the Nagas, bro.
See, like the Nagas are, as far as mythology is concerned, they were created to, in our concept, we've got rishis or seers of light. They are also known as the guardians of the universe. They have created all kinds of life forms in the universe. They actually are in charge of every activity that takes place in the universe. So one rishi called Kashyapa, he married this woman called Kadru. So with Kadru, actually, they gave birth to the race of serpentine beings. Through his powers through supernatural powers, he gave birth to serpentine beings. The serpentine beings are known as Nagas. They don't reside in earth. They reside on an astral plane in a place known as Patala Loka, actually. It's known as the nether realm. That is where they reside in, but they're also in charge of performing a lot of important functions on earth. So what many people have mistaken is they've taken Davidics theories about shape-shifting reptilians and they've mixed it with the Nagas. But David Icke actually has been debunked many times. David Icke has written that book, The Greatest Secret, The Truth Shall Set You Free. In that, actually, when he's written about shape-shifting reptilians, what he's written is actually like very, very far from reality. Now, these Nagas actually, they have been misunderstood in conspiracy theory circles as some kind of creatures that eat human beings and whatnot. It's not so actually. They are in charge of some specific functions. I have to go a bit deeper into that, and they're not actually they're not as malefic as they're portrayed to be. David Icke actually wrote all of this, and he's a delusional conspiracy theorist, and many things he wrote actually were proved wrong. You said this right, and I've read this book of his, The Truth Shall Set You Free. In that, he talks about this British Prime Minister called Edward Heath, how he was a shape-shifting reptilian because he was in contact with a woman whose husband was like a keeper for this Edward Heath's secret rituals and whatnot. So one day when she was taking her dog for a walk, she saw Edward Heath shapeshift into a reptilian. And the strange thing is dogs keep barking all the time. So how did this guy allow her to live despite this woman finding out his true identity? That makes no sense. And there was one more story actually called, there was one more story related to this. There was this woman called Kathy O'Brien. Kathy O'Brien alleges that she was captured by George W. Bush and he raped her and he shapeshifted into a reptilian, and he told her that we are actually from this constellation called Alpha Dracoon. We've disguised ourselves as Caucasians and we are into we need the human blood to hide our true appearance. Now what happened was that Kathy O'Brien and Arizona Wilder, they somehow escaped this ritual abuse. But the thing is, after they've escaped, they are going around happily in seminars talking about all their harrowing experiences without being killed. So that also doesn't make sense over there. So somehow David Icke, he took his whole shape-shifting reptilian theory thing from the Babylonian religion, to some extent the Egyptian religion as well, and other religions where they worship serpents, and partly from the Indian religion, and he's mishmashed the whole thing. He's wrong about everything actually. The Nagas are serpentine beings who are in charge of certain functions on earth. The serpent actually is, it on an esoteric level, it represents your ego. Let's say a person who's very, very egoistic and very conscious of his body, he cannot ascend spiritually. He is ensnared by the poisonous nature of this world, which consists of the 5 elements: the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the wind, and the ether element. So you'll see a lot of deities in my religion, and they have snakes around them. The meaning of this is they've controlled their ego, and they are no longer slaves to their ego. It's under the complete control. That's the true meaning of that. Those who can actually convert who can transcend their themselves from body consciousness to superhuman consciousness are not put down by the poisonous nature of their ego.
Can you tell us about the underworld Brahma in the Agartha?
There's no underworld Brahma. In the underworld or netherworld, you have demons existing over there, and even serpentine beings and other eldritch abominations.
No, I'm saying like in the actual physical realm, right? In what they call like Agartha or Sheol, right? Like inside the earth. There's I don't know if you ever looked into like Admiral Richard E. Byrd and all that stuff, but basically, you know what I'm saying, they're supposed to be the 10th incarnation of Brahma living inside the planet.
10th incarnation of Vishnu, that's known as Kalki. That is not inside the planet. It's known as the city of Shambhala. It's been there for millions of years. So it's like the real life Elysium of planet Earth. That's where a lot of light beings stay. So actually the 10th incarnation of Vishnu, Brahma doesn't incarnate. It's Vishnu that incarnates and does the cleansing. So he is known as Kalki. He'll come and exterminate the corrupt human race, and the light age will dawn again actually. So Shambhala is in a suspended animation somewhere between Mongolia and the Gobi Desert.
Yeah, I want to go back to the shape shifting. How can you tell somebody if they're a shapeshifter?
That's what I'm saying. David Icke's conspiracy theories have been debunked completely, because in his thing he says that reptilians don't sleep. Now Prince Charles is there, right? He's done active military service. He would have slept with the soldiers as well when he was in the army. So when he's sleeping, he should have shape-shifted into a reptilian. That made no sense. So David Icke, a lot of his theories have been debunked. Even he's dropped the shape-shifting reptilian theory and he's gone back to demons. David Icke, for many of his years, all of his books, they have given a lot of misinformation, because he said that the shape-shifting reptilians were from Alpha Dracon. They came to Earth. They created the first hybrid human race. After that, when the humans revolted, they again went into hiding, and they again were able to secretly enslave the human race by starting the Babylonian Empire. They abandoned the Babylonian Empire. They went to Egypt, created the Egyptian Empire. After some time, they abandoned Egypt. Then they went and created the Roman Empire. And then he said that Christianity and all the other religions were fabrications, and they were created by the Babylonian Brotherhood or the shape-shifting reptilians. But before Christianity became the state religion of Rome, Nero and other Roman emperors used to enjoy torturing Christians, feeding them to lions, and performing all kinds of sadistic acts. Constantine adopted Christianity as the state religion. So when David Icke says that Christianity was made up, and you see what happened in history, they both contradict each other. David Icke is not, he even said that the Rothschilds are shape-shifting reptilians, Rockefellers are shape-shifting reptilians, the members of all the 13 families are shape-shifting reptilians. Everything he said about the Rothschild has been debunked. About the Rockefellers, it's been debunked. Then even about the Astors and the Bundys, the Collins, the Kennedys, all of it has been debunked. Because if you look at the Astor family, they're also one of the 13 families in the Illuminati bloodline. Those guys today are living in poverty. John Jacob Astor was involved in the fur trade. He was also involved in the illegal opium trade as well. He built his family's fortune. Today, his descendants are living a hand-to-mouth living. Rothschilds, what happened was that because they were Jews, the Christians in Europe that time hated them. But despite being Jews, actually, Nathan Rothschild, what happened was that the Duke of Wellington trusted him. So he was entrusted in collecting all the gold with the help of his brothers, storing it and helping in transporting it during the battle that took place between him and Napoleon's army. All they would do was they would safeguard the gold after collecting it using their bonds. They virtually created the bond market. Nathan Rothschild thought that because this war will be a protracted affair, it will go on for a very long time. If he buys gold, there's a lot of demand for gold amongst the armies, his fortunes will skyrocket. But Prussia was very swift. They came in quickly and they defeated Napoleon's army. Then instead of no one needed gold because it was the war was over. So all his investments went down the drain. So he was going to be nearly ruined by the Napoleonic Wars. But he took a gamble. He thought since Britain had won the war, he'll purchase a lot of British government bonds. So looking what he did, everyone purchased government bonds. He took a chance and he made his money and he sold it off. Then everyone says that the Rothschild family funded the civil war between the Unions and the Confederates. When the Confederates asked Napoleon to finance their war against the Union army, they said that this is too risky. We can't afford to finance you. Find someone else. They stayed away from it. The Confederates, what they did was, they were a major cotton producing part of the US. They created a cotton embargo preventing the sale of cotton to England. And then after doing that, actually, what happened was that the prices of cotton increased. Then they started selling cotton bonds in Europe to raise money to fight against the unions. But then what happened was that Britain started importing cotton from India. So the Confederates got defeated because they couldn't get any more money to finance their war. This is actually what happened. And by the end of the 19th century, towards the 20th century, the Rothschilds had become bankrupt. I mean, they started losing their money. Their predominance started coming down. So then what happened was that the Nazis came and they seized their properties. They put many Rothschilds also in prisons and killed them. Some Rothschilds went and fought against the Nazis in World War II. Lord Evelyn Rothschild, he's the father of David Rothschild, I think. He fought against them as well, and they helped in the creation of Israel. So if the Rothschilds, what Fritz Springmeier and David Icke says, the Rothschilds are wizards, they're sorcerers, they're actually shape-shifting reptilians, and they were instrumental in creating a lot of wars. But actually, if you look at real-life events and look at what happened in reality and look at it with fiction, there's no evidence to prove what the Rothschilds did. Even the Rockefellers also. Everyone keeps saying that they're behind this, they're behind that. Basically, what happened was that John D. Rockefeller, he had 5 children. John Rockefeller Jr. and along with that, 6 children, I think. The assets got divided amongst each of his children. And when they'll have children, the assets will further get divided as well. Their predominance went down that way because let's say someone is very rich, he'll have children, he'll have to divide it amongst his children and they'll have to divide it amongst their children. These logical things they don't take into consideration. They'll bring up all kinds of irrational theories and they won't make any sense. They even said that you must be remembering one person, John F. Kennedy's wife, after she got assassinated, she married this Greek Argentinian shipping tycoon called Aristotle Onassis. They said Aristotle Onassis was also part of the 13 families. He assassinated Kennedy and he wanted to keep Jacqueline Onassis' mouth shut. That's why he did it. There was no proof. And they even said that this person called Howard Hughes, this guy who started this aeroplane business in the US, he was kidnapped by Aristotle Onassis. He was sent to a private island and they drugged him properly over there. The real Howard Hughes that you saw, he was actually a fake character. He was just a lookalike. These theories don't have any foundation or basis in reality. From being sorcerers who control the world, gradually they became aliens and monsters. You saw how it went actually. It was anti-Semitism, implicitly, explicitly, and then from anti-Semitism, it became this weird shape-shifting alien theory. That's how this origin started actually. Someone added something and it kept on building more and more, and there was no proper proof for any of this.
So, I mean, like when you look into, what was going on in the 1950s, I don't know if you know about, Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, and L. Ron Hubbard opened up a motherfucking portal out there in the desert, right? And that's now known as Area 51. Now, ever since they opened up that portal with a black magic ritual, it was called the Babylonian rite or something along those lines, or the Babylonian method, something along those lines. You could look into it. Jack Parsons died in opening up the portal because it had too much shit going on and they couldn't close it. So Aleister Crowley was in contact with a being called Lamb, right? And it looks like an extraterrestrial. And now, ever since that portal has been opened, we've been having UFO sightings. After that portal was opened, that's when Area 51 became a thing and all this shit. They started moving out there in the desert and shit. This is what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it happened like this. Then Anton LaVey was accused of...
That's why it went from witchcraft into aliens and shit, because they literally, with witchcraft, opened up a fucking portal, allowing these, demons masquerading as aliens to come through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The sleep paralysis and flying saucers, they're closely interrelated. There was an author. He talked to many victims of sleep paralysis, and he also talked to many victims who were, abducted by these aliens and flying saucers. So after extensive study, I forgot his name. He's written a book. After researching all of this, I have to conclude that these stories of people being abducted by aliens has more to do with witchcraft and sorcery and less to do with science and technology. So they are demons masquerading as aliens. They're known as asuras. That's all. Asuras like to delude humans into thinking that they're divine beings, that they're advanced beings from a very highly evolved civilization, and they like to take human beings and they like to experiment with them. So in the eyes of asuras, human beings are like playthings, creatures that have to be experimented upon.
I got a good question for you here. From Black Pill Crusader, what's the most supernatural paranormal thing you've experienced?
I went to this temple actually. In that temple, whoever is possessed by spirits and ghosts, they have to be exorcised over there. So Hinduism isn't to idol worship. Islam is opposed to worshipping idols, and in Christianity they believe in Jesus Christ and they believe in one God. So over here in this temple, irrespective of your religion, your caste, creed, or whatever, anyone can come over there, and they do it for free. You'll actually have to go to the lake. You'll have to dip yourself inside the lake. After dipping yourself inside the lake, you'll have to climb up the stairs again and hold a rock. So I've seen Muslims coming over there. This Muslim guy's wife, she was possessed, and when she had the bath in that lake and she came out, she started acting crazy. She started speaking a different language itself. So if Christians and Muslims are also coming over there, I've seen spirits being exercised over there as well. So it is something extraordinary, and they don't charge any money also over there. That's from my experience, that's the most supernatural paranormal thing I've seen. I've seen these ghosts coming out of their body, and I've seen people of different religions and all that coming over there and having a bath, holding a rock. And there's this being, actually, he sits inside the temple, he removes it from their bodies. And it's for free. They don't charge you any money.
That's pretty cool. It's like a demon clinic.
Yeah, they exorcise demons from your body, demons and spirits. And even if you're actually like a Christian or a Muslim, they won't care. Anyone can go over there, and it's for free.
I mean, religion, like organized religions, is all bullshit at the end of the day. We already know that.
Yeah.
You can't put God in a box.
What are Asuras? Dark Night? Yes. You know what these are?
Asuras are demons. That's it. In our religion, we call demons as Asuras, or they're the dark ones. In the age of darkness, they are allowed to rule the earth. They actually control all the affairs of the earth secretly. Actually, they corrupt men's hearts with all the 7 deadly sins, and they delude human beings into thinking that materialistic reality is the only thing that's true. They make human beings forget about spiritualism completely. It's because of the.
I'm learning a lot tonight here.
What?
I don't think Lop likes the music.
Oh, okay.
That's all right, Lop. You're gonna have to put up with it. Bring it back on. Okay. Yeah, if anybody wants to join and ask Varun questions live, click that link. Jump on. I got a pin click off.
As Varun,
yeah.
Why would they choose to put the Hindu goddess Shiva, right, outside of the particle colliders?
No. The Hindu god, like Shiva also, he's got many forms. I think Nataraja is the god of destruction, actually. So I don't know. It's god. Destruction and nuclear physics also go hand in hand, right? Because the atomic bomb has been it's been responsible in wiping out many lives. So Lord Shiva is the god of destruction. I think it's symbolic, actually. When Shiva dances when he actually does the cosmic dance of destruction, everything gets wiped out. So you'll see Shiva actually in his form of Nataraja in front of that Hadron particle accelerator beam in Switzerland, actually. Yeah.
Is it because that thing has the power to wipe out the existence?
Yeah. Lord Shiva is associated with destruction.
No, I mean the collider. Does the collider have the power to wipe out existence?
I mean, it's like a symbol of nuclear energy. Nuclear power has the power to wipe out existence. Yeah.
Nuclear energy has the power to wipe out existence.
Yeah, it does. Because actually, mankind, we've destroyed each other 81 times, actually. There is this thing, I mean, like, this is not the first time that, generally when people recall about wars, they talk about the First World War and the Second World War. But actually, this level of civilization that we've reached before itself, and we've destroyed each other at least 81 times. They've even found a nuclear power plant somewhere in Ghana, or I forgot which part of Africa. When they did carbon dating, it was like 1 billion years old. So humanity has been here for a very long time. The only problem is that I can't connect the dots, because they found the fossils of dinosaurs as well. Now, if you take the look, if you study all the study all the religions in the world, we see mythical creatures and whatnot, but dinosaurs are not there in any of the religions, whether it's Christianity, Islam, or Hinduism. So
that's not true.
I mean, where is the dinosaurs? Well, we've got dragons actually, but these types of creatures like the T-Rex or the Triceratops, it's not there. But their bones have been found.
You have dinosaurs in the Book of Job.
I mean, like, do they talk about big lizard-like creatures in the Book of Job?
Yeah, it talks about a giant ass creature called the behemoth that has a tail as long as a cedar tree, and it eats like leaves and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's talking about a long neck brontosaurus.
They've ever mentioned about I remember one thing they had mentioned about the Leviathan, a gigantic serpent, but other creatures that have been discovered, right? Even they've discovered the fossils of giant snakes also in South America. So it's difficult to actually connect the dots together, man. One thing for sure is from this from the books that I have read, they have given about many prehistoric civilizations of human beings that existed, and we reached such a state of advancement, and then we destroyed each other. Then we again went back to a primitive level and started from the beginning.
We always think that like mythology wasn't real because we don't see the evidence of it now. But look at you can look at the Kraken and shit. Like when they said they had the Kraken, and we found octopuses that are big enough to be the Kraken. You know what I'm saying? Then, like they said there was giant ass sharks that ate boats and shit, and people didn't believe it. But then we found evidence that there could be megalodons, giant sharks out there, just really sparse, And then, you got back in the day there was, like Sicily's history, bro. That they were telling the history of it. They were like, yeah, there's cyclopses there and shit, and like. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like there really was these like Nephilim in the earth, which was like hybrid.
Not just Nephilim. In the light age, human beings were tall, big, and strong. So they found skeletons of human beings who were like 17 feet tall, 20 feet tall. Those days, actually, human beings were very, very strong, and they never aged. They didn't get any diseases or any. There were no problems actually at all. It's only in the age of darkness that we've gotten diseases. Diseases are again supernatural because the human beings have violated a lot of karmic laws. These diseases even chase them through a series of lifetimes. They become genetic because at a subtler level, they're karmic actually. In Satya Yuga, actually, human beings were gigantic, they were tall, and they lived a righteous life. It's only in Kali Yuga that our lives are short. And in the age of light, human beings could choose when they wanted to die or for how long they wanted to live. And even there are many stories actually. Yogis, unlike human beings, they don't die. They choose when they will leave their body. So they will decide on a proper date. They'll sit in that yogic posture, the cross-legged Padmasana seat position. Then there'll be a crack in the skull and their soul leaves the body and goes off. They decide when they want to die. So only spiritually evolved beings can choose the time of their death. For mortals like us, we are subject to disease and death. Kali Yuga will not end in 2025, Timbo. There's a long way for it to end.
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah. We've still got a very long way. Tobacco style.
Alright, this world's looking pretty crappy over here, bro.
Yeah, it'll become worse and worse and worse, and then all of us will eventually get wiped out. That's what it's given actually. It will only deteriorate further and further because like with this type of technological progress, there's a lot of pollution, and even the food has become thoroughly corrupted as well. The food has no nutrients in it. So maybe within another 2,000 to 3,000 years, I think we'll all be wiped out, man, at best. That's what I feel.
So what? So if you say that in 2,000-3,000 years, what about reincarnation? In other words, what happens to people at that point?
No, the ones who will die.
If there really is no afterlife and you're reincarnated, so is that the end of all life? Is that what you're saying?
No. I mean, like everyone, the physical body might die, but their causal body will still exist. The causal body will have the sum total of all your karmas from your previous births. So the past and the future are one and the same. So after the earth is destroyed and when human civilization again begins creeping up, it starts again. depending upon the weightage of your karmas, you'll have to again be reborn to finish your cycle. It takes a very long time for every human being to come out of the cycle of existence. So even when the earth is destroyed and the human beings are wiped out, their causal body will still exist. The physical body will get wiped out. So they'll again have to wait for the right time to be reincarnated to finish their karmic debts off.
So where does the spiritual body go?
The spirit will. It depends actually. If the person would have done a lot of noble deeds, he'll go to higher realms. Like if he's done a lot of spiritual austerities, if he was addicted to a life of materialism, he'll be wandering around as a spirit. He'll have to wait for a very long time to again relocate a physical body with which he has a karmic debt with, and he'll have to be reborn. So rebirth will take a very long time for people who are attracted to materialistic desires. Sometimes.
But what about when it all ends, though? When it all ends, say in 2,000 or 3,000 years, and you're not reincarnated, what happens?
No, the earth will be covered in water. The human body will be destroyed, but the soul will continue to be here because the causal body containing a lot of karmas, which it has created through addiction to materialistic desires, will have to be paid off. So again, it will have to wait for the right time to be reincarnated again. That's it. Only people who've lived a very spiritually chaste life, they are freed from the cycle of birth and death. So it's not very easy to do it.
I want to ask you a more serious question now. If we talk about reincarnation and birth and life,
yeah.
What about abortion?
Abortion. The thing is, even though abortion it's a sin, the lifespan of human beings is not in their hands. So the child being killed in the womb, its lifespan was only that much as destined by God. That's it. God determines the lifespan of every human being on this planet. Probably the child that got killed in the womb had done something very bad in its previous birth. It might have killed a child. Being a human, he might have murdered someone. To pay for what he did, probably he'll have to be born into this woman's womb, and then she'll only be the killer, because sometimes these karmic debts are very complicated. In some previous birth, you could have killed your own mother as well. To pay that debt back again, you might have to be reborn as a child into her womb, as a fetus, and she this time might get the opportunity to kill you. It's very complicated how this works. And since your lifespan is not dependent, it's not determined by you or any human being, it's determined by God. So probably the being that gets killed inside the womb when abortion takes place, its lifespan was only that much. That's it. It was only meant to live a very short existence in the womb, and it was meant to die. It did not have the right to completely be born as a human being again and mature into a fully born human being. It will again have to wait for a very long time to locate a womb. It's very complicated how this works.
Yeah, so what do you call the time or the time period in between death and reincarnation? Is there a name for that? In other words, after your physical body dies and the time you're spending as a spirit or a soul, what is that time called?
You don't call that time anything. Basically, when you're a spirit and you lose your physical body, you drop out of space, time, and causation. Then actually, there'll be higher beings who will determine what type of body that you should go into, outerversal beings. They will see to it that you enter into this man's body when he's about to copulate with this woman. That will be able to drag the seed into the womb and meet with the ovary and nourish it into the child, and it will be born that time. It will be actually like that process will actually be carried on by gods. Then again, actually, there are certain demigods who are in charge of every activity on earth. So to determine which womb the soul will enter into is again up to these demigods.
So it's like, so when I say time, time is not as we know time.
Yeah. For us mortals, since our lifespans are determined from birth to death, we're subject to time. A spirit actually, since it doesn't have a body of flesh and bone and blood, what will happen is that it drops out of space, time, and causation. Its causal body continues to exist. Now, like what will happen is that depending upon what kind of karmas this couple would have done, they'll have the good fortune of inviting that spirit into their life and giving birth to that child. it's very complicated that way, actually.
So Alexio has a question. So living beings enter a reincarnation loop with no ability to leave?
Yeah, most of the time they'll be stuck in the loop. Very rarely they'll develop the desire for spiritualism, and they'll be freed from the birth of this cycle of birth and death.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy what you said about abortion. So basically, somebody is punished for their past life.
Yeah. Otherwise, why would it happen in the first place? He might have killed that woman in his previous birth, and then divine justice is very, very complicated. Then it will have to be reborn into her womb, and that's why she kills it, actually. Or let's take one thing, actually. Let's say abortion was totally banned. All these women will then give birth to these children, and they'll reluctantly give birth to them despite not loving them. So since they won't receive any love from the parent that just gave birth to them for the heck of it, they'll become criminals, and they'll do things which are even more worse. Because if the child doesn't receive the kind of attention, love, and supervision from its parents, it will become a juvenile delinquent, and it won't be able to establish right from wrong. So they'll become even more horrible when they become fully grown human beings. So these things are very, very complicated, actually. Since the woman didn't want to have the child, and she's reluctant to have the child now, it will be neglected once it's born also, right? Because in Kyrgyzstan, I think over there, rape is virtually legal. You should go to this channel called Vice. They kidnap women in broad daylight, force them to get married, and then they'll rape them also, and then they'll have children with them. When that happens, actually, the child is completely neglected by the mother. So that leads to poor health for the child. And then it will become it'll become psychotic, or it will become like a criminal, and it will do a lot of wrong things in life. So those repercussions are also there when abortion isn't done. So it's walking on a very razor sharp edge between sanity and insanity. You don't know what to do. If you'll have to choose between the lesser of evils at times.
So those children that are born to be bad or to be evil, to be derelicts, to be bums, so what I'm getting from reincarnation is that they're paying for a past life. In other words, they're brought into this world, and that's their living hell until they get reincarnated again.
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, like let's say the person one thing is, when you're reincarnated, most of your memories of your previous birth are wiped out. So you won't know what kind of state you're in, and you'll be suffering heavily over there. It's a form of divine punishment only.
What do you think about that, Mike?
What's up, Doc?
What do you think about that? As far as, like you said, if you're reincarnated, it's a divine punishment. If you've been in past life.
Yeah. I mean, like okay, fine. You'll see many people, they'll be born deformed. They won't have any limbs. They won't have eyes. They won't be able to hear. They'll be born with some incurable disease. What do you say about that? You can't just say it's by coincidence that they got it, right? There's got to be some deeper explanation to this. What about people who've got incurable diseases?
Yo, I like the theory. You know what I'm saying? Because it kind of like it brings everything into full circle. You know what I'm saying? It's like people only think they're getting away with shit.
Is that entropy?
And then it also explains...
Is that the entropy, Mike? Is that the term?
No, I mean, it explains why there are people that are just like, you know, we ask ourselves sometimes, like, yo, why would God make a kid die of cancer? You know what I mean? And then, you know, something like that would explain it. But, you know, I mean, I haven't really looked into that idea too much, too deeply.
Do you think that, I'll ask a question to Mike, and I'll ask it to Varun too. Do you think, excuse me, when we hear about reincarnation, do you think that gives people kind of an out in living a bad life? In other words, you're giving them another chance. In other words, is reincarnation just another chance to make up for being a bad person?
I mean,
is it giving an out? Is kind of what I'm looking at.
So, yo, for Varun's like ideology, it doesn't really give them an out, because they could do as much fucked up shit as they want. They'll never leave the prison of physical existence. Essentially, like that's the logic. You know what I mean? Like ask Varun, like in their beliefs, I believe they attempt to leave this physical existence and go to the next stage, right, of like human evolution, right, which would be like a spiritual existence without the suffering. And so basically they believe everyone that's still doing this hasn't learned enough to give it up. You know what I mean? It's like we basically hanging on to something that, you know what I mean?
No, it's like this.
And so like everybody gets to experience everything until they're done experiencing shit, and then they go on to the next level of experiencing shit. Not physically. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to miss a couple of the. We'll get back to this real quick. You're getting so many questions here, man. I can't even keep up with them.
Tattoos have any?
No, I mean, Varun is an interesting fucking guy, bro. And
yeah, I knew this was going to happen, man. It's hard to keep up with the questions. There's certain ones
I've argued with a lot of people, and I don't think I've ever been mad at Varun, honestly. And I've argued with him, and I could never really get to a point where he was like wrong, right? I could never say, yo, you're wrong. You know what I mean? It was just basically always down to what we believe being different, but I could never say, yo, you're wrong. You know what I mean? So it's strange. He's got good logic. He's got a lot of knowledge. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Why he's here tonight, man. The knowledge, like I said.
The spiritual thing is, I mean, like tattoos means try to avoid getting these tattoos of demons or like these creatures that are obnoxious or something horrifying. They will attract negative energy actually. Like let's say you get a skull tattoo like the one that Punisher has, or you have a snake moving through a skull, that will attract negative energy actually.
What if you have a Grim Reaper on you with a bunch of skulls?
That's what it attracts negative energy.
But yo, I got to balance it out. I got a Buddha smoking a joint. So I got the Grim. All right. Look, we got the Grim Reaper, right? We got the Grim Reaper with the skulls, right? Then we've got the Buddha, right? And then we've got a bunch of lotus flowers. So do the ones bring good energy and bad energy?
No, this is like you've seen this happen in real life only. Like violence actually is very addictive. I mean, like they'll say money is the root cause of all evil, but sometimes evil goes even deeper than that. I think this person, when he had anime philosopher, there's this cartoon called Berserk. Berserk is about the story of Guts and how he's in this medieval era setting and he takes on the apostles of God. Apostles of the God hand means they're like demons. So he explains actually in detail. There's a lot of reliance on Nietzsche. Nietzsche himself used to believe that human beings loved violence and they use religion as an excuse, or they use some excuse to inflict violence upon other people. So probably when you see a lot of these action movies where there's a lot of violence over there, it will stimulate you. I mean, like it will have an influence upon you. So it can eventually, like there's a saying, if you keep watching TV 24/7, the images that you keep seeing will brainwash you. So if you're like, let's say you start getting hooked onto horror or violence or whatever, gradually over a period of time, those images will have a profound effect on your mind. They will change you actually, man. Violence is very, very addictive too, actually. Human beings are addicted to violence. They deep down, many of them like to torture themselves and others, and they like to kill. But they use religion as an excuse, or they use some higher purpose, like we're trying to spread good. But that desire to torture and harm others is very strong in human beings.
This is a good question by Darkest Night. This is one of the questions I was going to ask. So let me ask you a question about reincarnation. Yeah. So you've been bad, okay? Yeah. Can you slowly work your way up every time you're reincarnated?
Yeah, you can, because see, I told you, right, there are some people who are born into a good family, they have it all, and then there are some people who are born in God-forsaken countries, nothing goes well for them. But gradually over a period of time, you can work it out, and you build your karmic fortune actually through a series of lifetimes. It doesn't happen like that. So let's say you're a very rich man in this birth. It's because you've done a lot of good deeds in your previous birth that whatever you're touching turns into gold. So there is hope, man. It's not that it's always doom and gloom. It's a mixture of doom, gloom, and happiness and joy as well. It's not only darkness.
Just looking at the questions here.
Yo, it goes deep, bro. But like, do you believe at some point you were not a human?
I mean, like, we are human beings, but
No, I'm saying like at some point in the cycle, right? Do you believe you were a cat or some shit, and then you became a human when you were a better cat?
Good question.
yeah.
You were reincarnated as an animal. Yeah.
Can you go down to a lesser thing? Like, can you be a human and be such a shitty human being that you reincarnate as a frog or some shit?
There is this person, I forgot his name, man. I forgot what's his full name. He does past life regression. So he's met many people actually. They themselves, after doing a lot of past life regression therapies on them, they themselves said that they were animals in this birth. They were actually like, they knew this place. And then he went over there also and talked to those people. They themselves said, we knew this dog over here. It was here. It was exactly like the way he described. So he knows how to do past life regression, but like, it's not good to do it because you'll get trapped in those memories. Like, let's say like you had done some very bad things or something like that. Like, it's better you forget them actually. Like, you go back into the past, you start to connect with all those people who you knew in your past lives. It will interfere with the way you're working in this in your present life. It's generally not allowed for human beings, but this guy does past life regression actually. I forgot his name. He did past life regression for a child. That guy actually, he had reincarnated as a dog once in his previous birth, and he also had reincarnated as a stingy financier. But because he was so stingy, he used to try to take everything from his gullible customers. One of them got angry and they killed him actually. So like, he was able to accurately predict what they were in their previous births. So even he's been able to discover that there were some animals also in their previous births.
So now cows are sacred in Hinduism, correct?
Yeah. Sacred means there's a reason.
Are those reincarnated souls in the cows?
Maybe you will need someone very powerful, a clairvoyant, who will be able to look at the cow and determine what it was in its previous birth. You will need someone with their third eye opened. They'll be able to understand what the cow was in its previous birth, what it will become in the future. They'll be able to predict accurately.
So why are cows sacred in Hinduism, and what's the reason?
It's a mixture of economics and spiritualism also. On the economic side, let's say you become the whole society gets addicted to eating meat. Eating meat is not cheap. You'll have to clear out a lot of forest area. Then you'll have to grow crops to feed those animals. But let's say the demand exceeds the supply. Now you'll have to irrigate those crops as well, and you'll need more forest area. So you'll deplete the country's water resources, you'll deplete your soil fertility as well. And the more the demand, you can't keep up with the supply. So eventually over a period of time, you'll render the entire land barren. So they created that fear also in their mind. If they eat too much of meat, it will be dangerous. They'll be punished and all that. They will get punished for killing an innocent animal, but at the same time, actually, it's also done to preserve the resources of the country. It's if everyone got hooked on to eating meat, where you get the food to cultivate on a regular basis to feed those animals.
Now, Hindu eats goat, correct? What other meats?
Yeah. Actually, in our religion, there were certain classes of people who could eat meat. The warrior class could eat meat. The priestly class and the business class were not supposed to eat meat. The Shudra caste are the ones that were into all these jobs which required manual labor. Them and the Kshatriyas, they could eat meat. Kshatriyas needed to eat meat because so that they could be strong and fit, and they could be violent also by nature to defend against invading armies. But the priestly class and the business class, they were forbidden from eating it. No, beef and all, beef eating, Hindus eat actually, but the lowest of the lowest eat beef. These people who are butchers and all that, in our religion, there are a lot of subcastes also. Butchers are somewhere at the lowest level. They eat beef.
So what I'm trying to get at is, what is the In other words, what happens, like if you were to eat a hamburger? What would...
Probably, I think, see, I actually, like, they've said this. If someone eats a cow's, if he eats cow's meat regularly, that sin will chase him for 7 births together. But I think there could be some truth to that. He might have some diseases later on in his next birth or something. But it was also primarily done to protect the country's natural resources. They didn't want people to get too addicted to meat and deplete the water resources and the fertility of the soil. Because in the olden days, most of the economies were agrarian by nature. So you need separate fields to feed the meat as well. Out of that fear, they prevented people from eating cow's meat. And cow actually, like, its milk has a lot of medicinal properties as well. It was helpful in curing a lot of diseases. In Ayurveda, a grass-fed cow's milk, when converted into butter and clarified butter and even buttermilk, and also its raw milk, can cure a lot of diseases when it's mixed with some herbs. So seeing how valuable it was, they created a lot of rules forbidding people from eating it. But then again,
the cows also shit out patties that grow magic mushrooms, and they would make soma.
The cow dung also had some medicinal properties that could cure certain diseases as well. So,
but yo, what about the soma, bro? Tell them about soma.
Soma, I'll need a big book to talk about that, man. It's very lengthy.
Yeah,
it helps.
So let me ask you a question. So you have what's called the caste system in it's just classes of people in India.
Yeah.
Is the highest class, I'm going to just a guess, the highest class doesn't eat any meat at all, I'll say.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the priestly class. They're known as Brahmins. Kshatriya class are the warrior class. They are the rulers, then the soldiers, the generals. These people come from the Kshatriya class. They are like the nobles as well. Below them is the business class, the class of merchants and traders. Below them are these people who do manual labor, all these kinds of base jobs like picking up corpses and what a blacksmith does, these types of low-level jobs. Those guys can eat meat too, because they need some strength as well to do manual labor. They can. There are no restrictions on them and the warrior class. But if you look at any society, even in today's world also, you can make, like, Brahmins are supposed to be like priests and scholars. So anyone who's a scientist, an intellectual, even in your country, they can become like a Brahmin. Anyone who's in the firefighting department, in the police force, in the army, or in the navy or the air force, they're like Kshatriyas or like warriors. Anyone who's an entrepreneur, he's like a businessman. Anyone who's in a service-oriented job, he's like a Shudra. Like, basically, he's working as an employee, using his skills to serve all the other parts of the society. The outcasts are the ones who are like these juvenile delinquents, antisocial elements like these gangsters. So this kind of system, it's present in every society also, right? Like, every country has it in that sense.
Do you think that certain countries like India, do you think they, how do I put this? Do you think that they look down more than other countries on people that are lower class?
Oh yeah. In our place, your caste is very, very important. The caste will determine your future in politics, in a government job. It will even determine your fate even in the entertainment industry also. And what will happen is that, let's say you're belonging to a caste, that whether it's high caste or low caste, and their demographics are pretty high in that state. What the politicians will do is they'll try to woo them, they'll try to give them some kind of a special status so that they'll get their votes to come into power. So in our thing, caste is very, very important. It's like in your country, how race is very important. Every political analyst will look at the demographic of every race. In this area, there are majority of blacks. In this area, there are majority of Latinos and whites. What do we do to cater to their needs so that they'll vote for us? The caste and race and creed thing will be there forever. It will always be an important factor in determining the political future of any country and even of the political future of any candidate who wants to come to power. It's like that everywhere, actually.
So basically in India, that's kind of like the American form of racism. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Because over here, actually, like the population is also very high, so people will be competing with each other for everything. There's cutthroat competition here for everything. If now what's happened is that the low caste people, they're very high in number, the Shudras. So now the government can't antagonize them. So they've given them a lot of facilities. They've got reservation quota in government-run colleges, government-run schools, then even government jobs as well. They will have a certain sector, like let's say 20 to 30% of the jobs will be reserved for people from the low-class communities. Even the medical seats in government colleges will be reserved for people from the low-class communities as well. The government can't antagonize them because they lose their votes. So just like the way they use race and for votes in your country, over here also it's a heavy factor that determines the future of the political party that wants to come to power.
So if you're going to, let's say you meet a pretty girl that's in a lower caste, so you can't marry her, or would you have to leave the country, or what?
In the olden days, actually, what would happen was that they would be ostracized. They would be they would become totally untouchable. Like they would be kicked out of society. In today's world, it's not a problem. Like someone from a higher caste does marry someone from a lower caste. Now people are more relaxed with that. But in the olden days, it was like very, very strict. Like let's say some Brahmin man, he married a Shudra, the couple would be like ostracized from society. They would lose their caste completely. Mm-hmm. Marriage between different castes and communities was forbidden back then. But now people are very relaxed about that. But then again, the demographics determine the political future of parties over here. So
are they? So they're not concerned so much about their bloodline as they were in the past.
Yeah, in the past they were very, very rigid about it, but today they're not so concerned about it.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think that is?
I think the British ruled us. So when the British ruled us, actually, like we had to fight for our independence. So then we had no choice but to unite. We had to shed our caste differences away. And then that sense of patriotism came in. And then we became a democratic country. And slowly we decided we had to do away with many rigid rules. So gradually we became relaxed. It was actually the British who, when they were ruling us, they, for the convenience of their rule, to help themselves rule, what do you say? In order for their rule to last a bit more longer, they needed to be more flexible. They removed a lot of these rules for their own convenience. We had no choice, but we had to unite against them to overthrow them and restore our rule back. So when that happened, actually, these differences actually were thrown out to a great extent.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah, I've been to the Ganges River.
And what's the special meaning of the Ganges? I'm sure it does.
Ganges River, it originates from a glacier in a cave. That glacier is shaped in the form of a cow. The whole cow, actually, like it's like a cow made out of ice. That's where the river actually emerges from. So the Ganges River has some healing and medicinal properties as well. That's why it's very, very important. But today, actually, it's been thoroughly polluted. They've started slowly cleaning it, but it emerges from a place inside a cave that's made up of ice. The cow's face, it's a gigantic cow's face made out of ice. So like there's a legend actually that Lord Shiva himself allowed the river to flow down from his matted locks, and he allowed it to flow down to earth because the earth was devoid of water. So it was this river that filled up the entire earth. And whoever bathes in it, they'll be healed to a great extent. There's a lot of mythological association with the river, but it does have healing properties in it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen things where it's completely polluted. What about I think I saw something about how they burn the bodies and put them in the river. Have you heard that?
Yeah. They do that in a place in Varanasi. It's known as Manikarma Ghat. Bodies are burning over there continuously. They think that if they burn the bodies and dump them into the river, they'll be liberated. But they're very delusional. Varanasi is esoteric. They will have to perform austerities actually and liberate themselves. They have twisted esoteric meanings with factual meanings as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure where I saw that, but I know there was something.
Yeah, that's known as Manikarma Ghat. It's the biggest cremation ground in the whole world. Many Hindus cremate the bodies. That river, the Ganges, it flows through the city of Varanasi, and this cremation ground is just next to it on the banks of the river. So when they burn the bodies, they dump them into that river, so that the person will be freed from the cycle of birth and death. But it's a mixture of superstition, actually. Like, they have confused esoteric knowledge with the myth behind the esoteric knowledge. I mean, the esoteric knowledge, they've neglected it. They've confused the myth actually for what it really is.
So what is the recommended disposal of a body after death in Hindu?
It depends which caste you're born into. If you're born into a particular caste, you might be buried. If you're born into one caste or something, if you're born into the priestly caste, you'll be burnt. If you're born into the farmer's caste or something like that, they'll bury you actually. It depends from which caste you're born into.
Okay, which like, let's say you're to pass away, what would happen with you?
They would bury me because in my caste they don't cremate the body, they bury the body. But nowadays people have become a bit they don't follow that rule very rigidly because there are too many people. You can't have too many graveyards. So what they started doing is they started creating crematoriums all over the city. So if the person dies irrespective of his caste, he can have his body cremated.
Are there any spiritual ramifications of being buried or being burned?
Like, actually, for spiritual thing, no, because once the soul leaves the body, it's done with that body. So there's no spiritual ramifications for that. Generally, what a yogi will do is he will control the life force in his body, and he will be able to control his breathing as well. Every 8 hours in the body, the cell dies. So he will stop the cell from dying, and the cell can live for 10 days at a time. And they'll bury him as well. Controlling himself, even if he's buried alive also, he'll be able to exist. He can meditate being buried alive. And when the time is right, he can leave, his soul will leave the body and go off. So for a yogi, actually, being buried alive is more ideal, actually. It'll help him do his austerities. For normal human beings, it doesn't matter if they're buried or burnt because they're dead anyway.
Mm-hmm. I've got another question. Black Pill Crusaders got some great questions here, man.
India supports Russia because Ukraine has always opposed India in the United Nations. They've passed decisions against us. So most of the time when the whole world was against us, only Russians supported us. So we have more closer ties with Russia than Ukraine, actually.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on in the chat here tonight. So yeah, you guys, we're going to go a little bit longer. If you want to jump on and talk with Varun, click that StreamYard link and ask him some questions. Mike, I don't know if you're still there. If you got any more questions. Mike might have took a break.
Yo, I'm here, bro.
Yeah, any more questions for Varun? Like I said, anybody watching?
No, I can't think of one, honestly.
Yeah. Let me look on my list here. I think we nailed most of them. Oh yeah, I've got this. So I want to know what you think the similarities of all religions are.
Basically, I feel like what happened is that these saints and these sages who started religions, they would have meditated. They would have discovered truth in a very esoteric manner. But they can't...
Yeah, my bad, bro. I had someone hit me up. I got a friend in like a crisis, you know what I mean? I had to handle that real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So basically, I think they would have attained some kind of knowledge through their mystical experiences. What they will do is they will create stories to hide this knowledge. Then what will happen is that people get confused looking at these stories. They'll think that it's literally true. Only people who would have actually gone through these experiences, they will know the true meanings of these stories, the esoteric knowledge behind it. So as far as these mythological stories are concerned, it's somewhere between fact and fiction. Like, you've seen that movie Lara Croft's Tomb Raider, the new movie of Lara Croft Tomb Raider that came out. they'll think that actually like this Japanese princess, she'll be a poisonous maiden. That's why the soldiers will actually lock her up or something. But actually, she herself would have willingly gone to that island to seclude herself because she knows that she'll be suffering from this disease. It would have been hidden in the form of a myth. Same thing also, Adam and Eve, that I explained, right? Adam and Eve, it's actually like it's a complicated story. It's got esoteric knowledge. It's hidden in the form of the story because literally, if you believe Adam and Eve, now Adam and Eve, they'll have children. And at the same time, I think I forgot who Cain kills one. I think Cain kills one of his brothers. Cain kills Abel. But if Adam and Eve were the ones who were responsible for they were the real procreators of the entire human population, how do you explain the fact that Africans look different from Caucasians, Caucasians look different from Asians, Asians look different from Middle Easterners, Middle Easterners look different from indigenous people in the Americas? The thing is, if a generation of human beings is created by two parents and they copulate with each other and they populate the entire planet, having an incestuous relationship will weaken the children further and further. And if the couple have, let's say, like the couple are Caucasian to look at, the children will be Caucasian. So if two people copulated, how is it that Africans have different features and Chinese have different features? It makes no sense. The Adam and Eve story, I told you that day, right? It was just an esoteric story that showed how when man used sexual procreation, he fell from a state of heavenly bliss and actually became mired in the mundane.
I think it has a deeper story too. It's like, yo, don't let women trick you into eating some fucking apple that causes mankind to be fallen for eternity. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
No, dude, it's not that. Genesis,
yo, Adam and Eve is the original black pill MGTOW. You know what I'm saying?
No, man. See, Adam and Eve, actually, I'll tell you that Adam and Eve story. 1 minute. Adam and Eve story is actually to be honest, it's an esoteric story. Adam and Eve, it represents the feminine and masculine aspect in a human being.
I actually do have another question. Whatever you're doing with Adam and Eve. Yo, how do you feel about aliens? Because, yo, they just had a mass UFO sighting the other day in, I think, it was in...
I saw that.
Mexico and San Diego. They saw a whole bunch of UFOs and shit.
I don't actually. I myself need to experience.
What does your belief system believe about aliens and motherfuckers coming on crafts and shit? And here's another theory: is it possible that that's us from the future?
Future, I doubt it, because see, until and unless you're a outerversal being, you're a godlike being, you can't, if you're a normal human being, you can't alter time. Only a god can actually, he is beyond space, time and causation. He can actually enter into the future and the past. So,
besides the time paradoxes, how do you feel about, aliens, or so to speak, or, you know what I mean? Reptile looking little people that have higher technology than us, you know what I mean, from somewhere else. And they don't have to be from another planet. Yo, they could be from another dimension. You know what I'm saying?
They could be from. See, dimension means direction, all right. So dimension is just another word for direction. So when you say they're from another dimension, you have to say whether they're from an upward dimension or a downward dimension. For human beings, actually, what are all the dimensions? Up, back, down, left, right, and front. So you're talking about them being from another dimension. You have to take the entire universe into consideration over here. So our universe is divided into planes of existence. At the lowest plane of existence is the lowest dimension of the universe. That's where all these eldritch abominations, Lovecraftian gestalt entities, these type of reptilian beings, and even these demons exist.
Wasn't the Tower of Babel like a machine that they were trying to get into a higher dimension, trying to crack through the dimension, and that's why, you know what I mean? Because it was a tower. They were trying to get to heaven with the tower. They were trying to go to a higher dimension. They were trying to crack through the firmament to basically jailbreak out of Earth, like by force.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Genesis and many stories in the Bible, they have esoteric meanings. Like the Adam and Eve story, like it's esoteric. People shouldn't literally think it's true. So
and we tried to do that shit too, by the way. We tried to crack through the firmament and go to heaven. Look into Operation Dominic and Operation Fishbowl, where we shot nukes at the firmament. You know what I mean?
No, but people say the moon landing is fake, but the moon landing is real, because I've read the theories written by this person. His name is Bill Kaysing. Bill Kaysing worked for a rocket company. Now, what happened was that he was not a science graduate. He was not educated. Based on his experience in that company, he became suspicious that the moon landings might have been fake. So without having any evidence, he said that they created a studio in Arizona, and that the astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, they were holed up in a hotel in Las Vegas, and they were provided with hookers. And
Buzz Aldrin got ambush interviewed by a guy, and he had footage. He had footage of them staging the moon landing. And Buzz Aldrin got pissed off, left the interview, and then another time punched that guy in the face. I gotta go shoot a raccoon. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Actually, what happened was Buzz Aldrin is there, right? Buzz Aldrin, he and Neil Armstrong landed on the moon at least 7 times. Now, what happened is that this Bill Kaysing guy is there, right? He created a lot of theories. He said that they shot the whole incident in a studio in Arizona. Then after that, he said that the astronauts were in a hotel. They were provided with hookers. NASA faked the whole thing. Then what's happened? He's written an entire book, America's $30 billion swindle. Did we ever land on the moon? But throughout the years, he couldn't prove many of the things that he came up with. Then in a documentary made on conspiracy theories in 2002 or 2003, he was alive then. He changed his whole narrative. He said that the astronauts Bill Kaysing and Buzz Aldrin went to space. They were orbiting Earth in space. They did not land on the moon. They took pictures of the moon. They came back to Earth. After taking pictures of the moon, they photoshopped their moon landing. So you see how different each narrative is. So he himself is not able to come to a correct conclusion. So if he's not able to conclude correctly which theory it is, it doesn't make sense. And the reason actually why people in today's world, in today's era, didn't go to the moon was, back then, they were more obsessed about beating the Soviets at everything. It was an ego-based competition. If the Soviets put a first man to space, we have to put a first man to the moon. We have to show the Soviets that we're better. What happened was that rather than using this research and this knowledge for improving man's condition on Earth, it became an ego-based competition. And then the public started losing interest in this. So NASA is a government organization. It's funded by taxpayers' money. So then they realized that there are more important issues to be dealt with, like eradicating hunger and other diseases on Earth. So they abandoned going on the moon, and also they were trying to use space technology for creating space-based weapons. Then they created some treaty known as Strategic Arms Limited Treaty that would limit the amount of nuclear warheads created, and that would also limit them using space-based technology for creating more weapons. Based on all of this, they stopped researching as to how to go to different planets and all that, because it was not giving them any kind of proper results. It was not rewarding them financially, and it was just an ego-based competition. But they actually did travel to the moon and they did come back, but it was not serving any proper function on Earth. Like, it was not eradicating hunger or poverty. Those were the issues which were more important. So I think that's why this whole craze of going to Mars and other planets, it died after the 70s. I think again now these individual tech entrepreneurs, they've revived that interest of going to different planets. But the thing is, like, even if they go to different planets also, terraforming that planet, that type of technology human beings don't have. We may be able to reach Mars, but making it like Earth will take billions of years. That kind of evolutionary technology human beings don't have, because they conducted an experiment also with people to see how they will function in a kind of isolated environment, if they'll be able to terraform that planet, if they'll be able to live with limited resources. By the end of the experiment, after so many years, those people couldn't even stand each other, and the whole experiment was a failure, actually.
It's funny because I watched the movie The Martian here the other night. It's actually a pretty good movie.
I mean, it's a good movie, but let's say you go to Mars, how will you change the atmosphere into an atmosphere that has a lot of nitrogen. It's if the whole planet was filled with oxygen, oxygen is if you light a match, the whole planet can be lit on fire. It's a combusting agent. You'll have to fill the whole atmosphere with nitrogen, and a small amount will be filled with carbon dioxide and other inert gases. How will you fill it with water and and how will you be able to create continents and create life that can sustain vegetation and other organic forms? It's very complicated. So even if you go to Mars, what will you do over there? It doesn't have many resources as well. It's just a vanity project, that's all.
I've got a couple good questions here I want to get to. Like I said, I'm backed up on questions. I'm curious about this too, telekinesis powers. Alessio says, I know they've had videos removed from YouTube. Telekinesis, where somebody could you could bend a spoon with your mind or things like that. So, yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, Tony, there is no spoon.
There is
no, the spoon does exist. Everything is real in this world. It's just that you'll get these innate psychic abilities awakened after you do a lot of meditation. You must have seen that old series, Guinness Book of World Records 2000, like Guinness Prime Time. There was a Shaolin monk actually. That Shaolin monk actually, he was able to suck a bowl with his abdomen, and it had a mini arc actually, like a hole. Then he was lying flat on the ground after sucking the bowl with his abdomen. There was a helicopter that came, dropped the rope, and they hooked that. They passed a hook through that hole, and they lifted him in the air. He was suspended in the air at a very high altitude, and he was attached to that helicopter by only having his stomach sucked to that bowl. All along, they flew the helicopter, and finally they landed it. It was shown on Guinness Prime Time. I don't know why they removed it. So these feats are not completely impossible to accomplish. There was even at least a 30-minute documentary on this guy who had supernatural powers. He could light things on fire. He could cure people's diseases. YouTube removed that and it made it into 9 minutes. That's all. As far as telekinesis and psychic powers are concerned, my Sanskrit teacher, he knew a person. That person could look at things and he could light it on fire. And one more person whom I know, he could levitate actually. Whenever he would go and do meditation, he would submerge into that lake. Then he would cross his legs and sit in that yogic posture, and his legs wouldn't touch the bottom of the lake. It would be moving in water, and he would actually be suspended above the land inside the lake, the ground actually inside the lake. And he also had a lot of supernatural powers as well. There's one more person whom I knew actually. He was a government official. He had invited this monk into his house. It was raining that day. That guy just waved his hand off and it stopped raining as well. There are a lot of people who've got these powers, but generally they don't come out actually. It's hidden. When you get supernatural powers, your teacher will lock it, because if you can't control yourself, you might run around and make a mess of things. You have to not interfere with the day-to-day functionings of the ordinary human society. Otherwise, it will be a disaster. But these supernatural powers can be attained. And the way to attain them is through sorcery. In Marvel movies, like in comics, you'll see this guy will be dropped into some toxic chemical substance. He'll gain powers through that, or some freak accident will give him powers. That is not so. The only people who genuinely attain the supernatural powers are sorcerers, like Doctor Strange. Then this sorcerer called Mordru in this DC comics. And one more person who actually attained his powers correctly was the Iron Fist. Through certain Qigong practices, you can make your hand and body very strong. Some people whom they've shown in the comics who are sorcerers, they've actually attained their powers legitimately. That's how you can attain supernatural powers. If you try to do it like the way the Fantastic Four did, they'll be orbiting in space. Suddenly they'll be struck by radiation, or Luke Cage will get that diamond hard body through some freak accident. You won't be able to attain it. Or like the way the Hulk attained it. Through some freak accident, he got exposed to gamma rays and he became big like that. That's not the way you attain it. The way Doctor Strange attained it, or the way Mordor attained it, through the use of spells and sorcery. That's how supernatural powers one can awaken, as he gradually transcends from a state of ordinary human consciousness to a super consciousness level. You can attain it, but there's a way to attain it.
Got a question by Black Pill Crusader. Varun, what are you most afraid of?
There are many things, man. I mean, like I'm afraid of not being able to accomplish anything. Actually,
that's what you're most afraid of not
accomplishing anything. Yeah.
Well, you're accomplishing something tonight. You're giving people a lot of information. I mean, this is, I think everybody has a place in this world.
Yeah.
That's why you're here tonight, because you're a wealth of information, Karen. You get a lot of questions. Wow, that's deep. What was your answer again now?
I said not being able to accomplish anything.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a personal question then. How do I phrase this? Is that written? We're going to go back to your, what's the word I'm looking for, is your prophecy, I guess. Is that written in your prophecy that you're not going to accomplish anything? Or
that's what, like, when he took my photo and he said that you'll go through a lot of disappointments in life with regards to your desires. So like I was like very disappointed with that, because there were many things that I wanted to accomplish. He said that most of them won't materialize at all in this birth. So like that was like very, very, very disappointing for me. And I also realized one thing: all of us have many desires, but the problem is, as human beings can't do everything at once. Like you can't become a singer, an actor, an athlete, and you can't become a musician. I mean, you can't become a scientist all at once. If you try to do many things at once, you won't be able to do one thing properly as well. So the mind actually, which is a body of its own, it will restrict the human being from doing too many things at a time. At best, you can succeed maybe at one or two goals in life. Because if you focus on too much, you won't do anything properly. I think that's why actually, like, people, how much ever they try, they'll only be able to do one or two things in life. They'll only be able to succeed at maybe one or two goals in their life. That's it. If you try to do too much, you won't end up doing anything well.
Well, it's funny. It's a quote that I screen capped today. We've all heard that quote: "A jack of all trades is a master of none."
Yeah.
But the real quote I found out says this. There's a part missing in that quote. It says, "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but is always better than a master of one." So do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But the thing is, like, see, let's take martial arts as well. Now, there are strikers and grapplers. Now, in every striking system also, there are different drills, different exercises for getting power. Then there's a different method for using your feet as well. Footwork in different styles varies as well. And grappling also is also very complicated. So if you try to look at this, UFC fighters also, they're on a tight schedule. They get to have 2 fights at best in a year. Now, if they try to start learning so much, what will they end up perfecting? Like, it will become too much for them. If you look at martial artists also, they would have spent their entire lives trying to perfect many techniques. I mean, they would have perfected a few techniques in their lives, even though they've tried to learn many, many techniques. Those few techniques are what they'll use most of the time in the ring. Because, like, if you look at the way Muay Thai boxers punch, Taekwondo practitioners punch, boxers punch, Karate people punch, it's very different. Then again, you look at the footwork in Taekwondo, the kicks used in Taekwondo, and even the kicks in Muay Thai, and even in Karate, it varies. Then after that, even Karate has grappling, and you have got grappling techniques in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is different from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu again, and wrestling as well. By the time you learn all of this and try to implement it, it will not be possible actually. Like there's this guy, I think you must have heard of his channel, Fight Tips by Shane on YouTube. He shows he's with this boxer, I think Coach PJ, and with this wrestler, and also with a striker as well. They keep putting out videos on what you can do to increase your power in striking, as far as your kicks is concerned, how to increase your speed and power, how to be effective at grappling. He's put so many videos. I don't think even UFC fighters will be able to look at all of that and practice everything in their life. You have 24 hours. You can't train the whole day. You have to give your body rest as well. So it's difficult to do everything in one life. That's what I feel. And the best part is, people think that they are if they learn MMA, they're learning martial arts. They are actually wrong. Martial arts is different from MMA. Martial arts involves the use of weapons, like the types of techniques that the knights in medieval Europe used, or the Spartans, or the Romans, or the samurai. When weapons come into the battlefield, the whole picture changes. To learn to use weapons again, it takes an entire lifetime. And again, to use your hands.
Japanese jiu-jitsu was originally was a lot of weapons in Japanese.
Yeah. Weapons.
Everything is kind of like, so I've taken Japanese karate, and then they also included weapons, and then I've also taken Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but they also at that same school taught eskrima, which is
Filipino stick
fighting, you know what I mean? And they had like, you know what I mean, they had all different kinds of things. Like they taught a lot of different shit. So I mean, even schools don't focus on just one thing. Most schools will focus on a combination of like the best shit.
Yeah.
It's about what works. Like people that fight know.
Yeah, there's times like me sparring with a friend of mine now. He's actually a lot smaller than me, and he is an incredible kickboxer. Now, if we were doing striking only, it just was amazing what he could do to me. I was just covered up like this. Now, if we're doing more judo style grappling, I would destroy him, you know, as soon as you eliminate the striking.
But the thing
now,
is,
I know you can't spar with weapons, right? You know what I'm saying? But now if you involve weapons, for example, right, then it takes it to the next level. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. There's a difference between martial arts and civilian self-defense systems. When you talk
about the military doesn't train people how to like fight. They train them how to just kill people. You know what I mean?
That is only martial arts. See, that's the thing actually. Like if you look at the knights in Europe with the medieval longsword, the armor, the shield, that is martial arts. Martial arts is actually like learning to work as a team, learning to use weapons, and also developing predatory instincts. In a civilian self-defense system, when you learn Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, you're only doing it to defend yourself and your family. And even when they have weapons in karate, it's like a militia system. Like you just want to protect your village cattle from thieves who might steal the cattle. You look at the weapons used by people who are karate practitioners, and you look at the weapons used by the samurai. Those are battlefield weapons. And these weapons that the karate practitioners used, they can't match that, because like karate actually is a mixture of Okinawan wrestling and Chinese kung fu. When the Japanese samurai invaded the Ryukyu Islands or Okinawa, they had armor and they were very good at battlefield tactics. They wiped out the Okinawan army within, I think, 2-3 days. They finished them all off. When you learn martial arts, actually, what will happen is that you're taught how to kill. When you use the spear, the bow and arrow, the clubs, the spiked maces, and even use knives also. When you're trained with weapons, that will take an entire life to learn. And when
the karate I took used like bow staffs. They used sais.
But those are not martial weapons, because they're not as effective at killing as the ones that these warriors use. If you look at
they also trained in sword, right? They trained in I forget the name of the weapon, but it's a long pole with a pike on it. It's like a halberd, right? So they trained in the halberd, in a sword. They trained in bow staff, sais, or a pretty decent range of shit.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Deadly Warrior, you look at that was premiered on History Channel. They showed different civilizations, how they were as far as their weaponry was concerned. They showed Vikings versus samurai, then Apache versus Roman gladiators, then Pol Pot versus Saddam Hussein, Theodore Roosevelt versus Napoleon, and Aztec warriors versus these African tribal warriors. And they even showed Teutonic Knights versus pirates. The thing is, why they showed Deadliest Warriors is...
I saw all those shows, bro. That show's pretty dope.
Yeah,
Deadliest Warrior.
what made a big difference were weapons actually. Coming back to that point, like you can't learn everything in life. Now, let's say you went about learning whatever they taught you in the Marines and in the Navy SEALs and all these fighting battlefield systems that the samurai practiced or the Teutonic Knights practiced, and also try to learn the civilian self-defense systems like Muay Thai, kickboxing, judo, wrestling. You won't be able to learn anything perfectly. It'll be too much actually for one birth. So you'll have to choose actually what you want to learn.
And that's why I focused on one for a lot of years.
I mean, like, see, Tony, you're
Would you focus on, Tony?
Judo.
Because
they taught also, bro. I had to take like a small bit of judo in jujitsu, like it was part of it.
That's where it comes from. People do, I mean, a lot of people don't even know that do jujitsu.
We had to learn it. It's the same thing, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it is.
Jiu-jitsu is a battlefield system.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is a battlefield system. I forgot this person's name. He evolved it into a civilian self-defense system. Jiu-jitsu, what they would do is they would stand, and in the battlefield, they would break the enemy's hands and his limbs without falling on the ground. But like since the Sengoku period was over and they had entered into the Edo period, where there was a lot of peace, then what they did was they refined this technique for civilian use. So I think there was a Japanese person, I think I forgot his name. He took this wrestling and judo, he went to Brazil and he taught the Gracie family. They actually refined it into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, because it's originally from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is the origin. That's how it originated.
And there's no falling on the ground.
Jigoro Kano is the originator of judo from 1888 is when judo really, that's the origin of judo. So a lot of people don't know that. And when you go into a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's a picture of a Japanese guy, and that's Jigoro Kano, who is, that's where it came from. So the Japanese went to Brazil and taught them, and they kind of tweaked it out their own way. That's how you get Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is the origin of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo.
Yeah, it's a battlefield system, but you can't, see, you're not in a war, so you'll have to modify it for civilian use. If they used exactly like the way they fought on the battlefield, they would actually end up crippling him without falling on the ground, and then they would slice him in half, because weapons played a very important role. There was this American Marine called Don F. Draeger. Don F. Draeger, he actually was a Marine. He fought in Iwo Jima as well. He learned a lot of Japanese martial arts, and he's written many books. But what happened was that he got poisoned and he got killed when he was in Indonesia. Then, his books are very popular. He created a school called Hoplology. His student is there called Hunter B. Armstrong. He teaches people real martial arts, like how to fight with weapons, how to fight as a group. If you look at martial arts also, martial means military. All battles are won by teamwork. So when you're learning martial arts, you'll have to learn to create an effective infantry division, a cavalry division, how to fight as a team. Because if you try to fight solo, you cannot be a martial artist. You can't fight on the battlefield without an army. So you'll have to learn to develop an army first. You'll have to learn to train them in the use of weapons. And you'll also have to teach them how to be predatorial in nature, where they'll track the enemy down, where they'll actually stalk him and then they'll take him down. That's what a predator does. Civilian self-defense systems, they're totally different from battlefield systems. There you're just defending yourself and you're keeping the enemy from harming your family, and you just want to go back home safely. So trying to learn both of them, we were talking about the jack of all trades and master of none, right? If we ended up learning everything together, I'm just giving an example, you won't become good at anything.
Mm-hmm. I want to welcome Blaxican. Blaxican, good to have you on.
Hi, Blaxican.
Hey, Tony, Varun, Mike.
Hi.
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you have any questions. I'm sure you do for Varun. We had talked about astrology earlier, on how the Hindu religion is based. There's a lot of astrology based in their religion. So for Varun, man, go for it.
Oh, man. So I've heard Varun on other streams, and he has a wealth of knowledge. Varun, can I ask you about I don't know if you already went over this, but what the heck was going on in India when they talk about these epic wars and battles going on with things that were like spaceships and nuclear type weapons and stuff? In your opinion, what was going on?
I mean, there have been wars that have took place. There have been people actually would use spells as weapons. There was a way actually by which you could attain mastery over a spell. When you would attain mastery over a spell, like let's say someone taught you how to use the Brahmastra, it's a weapon that you can actually attain by attaining perfection in the spell that gives you that power. Then you can direct that energy into a blade of grass or any inanimate object and throw it on your enemy, or even into your bow and arrow. So you can even release it from your mind as well. These types of weapons did exist, but they would only be taught to level-headed people actually. If they were taught to some people who were egoistic by nature, who couldn't control themselves, it would be a disaster. Like let's say they would use something like the Agni Astra, they would be able to weaponize fire and destroy an entire army with that. Or if they use the Brahma Shirsha Astra, they could cause famine in the entire land. So such powers are dangerous to give it to untested students. So only after testing people, they would teach them like these types of very dangerous forms of knowledge. And as far as Vimanas are concerned, flying objects, basically, they did exist because there was this person called Boganathar. He was like 30,000 years old. He, a long time ago, 10,000 years ago itself, he invented an automobile. He also invented, he invented a flying machine, and he flew from India to China. It was like a helicopter. And he also, you've seen Mortal Kombat, right? In Mortal Kombat, after Liu Kang defeats Shang Tsung, he frees all the souls, and they'll be ascending towards heaven, and his brother will come in flesh and blood, meet him and go back. Now, generally for a person who dies, the soul will leave the body, and when that happens, it's difficult to again talk to them. This Boganathar, he had created a special type of he had created a special type of house with this technology by which you could talk to your ancestors in their blood and flesh. They would not only be in their spirit form, they could come in their flesh and blood form, talk to you and go back and tell you what to do. But then what happened was that he was scolded by other people who are accomplished like him and said that you should never reveal the secret of bringing dead people back to life. Stop what you're doing. So like this, when you saw that movie in which Liu Kang's brother comes in human form and flesh and blood after having been killed, talks to him and goes back, such a thing can be done. This guy had done it. Like let's say you had lost your father or mother or some important family member in a tragic event. This guy could have created a house by which you could go inside and actually like talk to them in flesh and blood for a brief period of time and get to know what you wanted to do for them, and they could again depart from there. But it was forbidden to do that, and he stopped doing it.
Wow, man. It's crazy. It's crazy in a good way. This is awesome. That's
but it's forbidden for most of us humans.
Yeah.
Shit's crazy.
Yeah, you have a question from Michael Foster right here.
Yeah, I mean, like everything is part of Brahman only. Brahman means like Parabrahma, like everything emanated from the unmanifested universe or the outerversal God known as Parabrahma. So we all are a part of Brahman only. Everything. It's like all in one and one in all.
What is Krishna when they say he's the like the personification of personality or something like that?
No, right? He's known as Purnatmaka Purushottama, means perfection, the epitome of perfection actually, like perfection personified. He basically had to come and he actually had to reveal he had to relieve the earth of demons that were troubling the planet, and he actually got rid of evil princes and kings and even demons as well. So that was his task. But the thing is, whether you read any religious story or whatever, there'll be some hidden meaning as well. You just can't take it at surface value. So you have to discover the hidden meaning as well.
Well, he looks like he's high a lot. I mean, were they doing psychedelics and smoking? Well, they smoke charas in India, right? Weed.
Yeah,
some of the yogis and stuff. Krishna looks pretty high in a lot of the artist renditions I've seen, young, old and new.
Yeah, but the thing is, those guys who take psychedelic drugs, they're smart. They won't reveal that technique to everyone. What they'll do is when they take the psychedelic drugs, they'll use a spell to nullify all the bad effects of the psychedelic drug. Generally, if someone smokes cigarettes, he'll get lung cancer, or if he smokes too much of pot, also he'll get bronchitis. But they'll be able to nullify the bad effects and they'll be able to use it to alter their states of consciousness without suffering any bad effects as well.
That's exactly how I do it.
You take a magic spell, Mike?
No, I'm fucking around, bro. Honestly, I just smoke, bro. You know what I mean? And I just don't believe it's gonna fuck me up, so it just don't.
There you go. Mind over matter, huh?
You know what they call it? They say, forget about it. You know what I mean?
As Varun, like psychedelics, only certain people should use psychedelics. As Varun, is that what you're saying?
Psychedelic drugs, even if you take psychedelic drugs or alcohol, if you know how to use it, if you use certain types of spells, you can nullify the bad effects of these intoxicants. Then you can use them to progress beyond the state of body consciousness. But if you're a regular person and you use psychedelic drugs, you don't know what you're doing. You'll drown yourself and you'll harm your body more.
Yeah, Aldous Huxley was a proponent of that. He was of only certain people, aka elites and scholars, should take psychedelics.
I mean,
he thought.
Yo, the reality of it is, it could really fuck you up if you can't rectify what you've experienced.
Yeah.
You know, like, no, I've seen people literally take one hit of acid and just fuck their whole like existence up. They could never be a normal person. You know what I mean? But some people could take lots of acid and just be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I want to welcome Michael Foster. Michael Foster, it is an evening at Varun. We've gone
Michael
with Hinduism.
Wait.
Astrology, and
I know Mike's voice.
Yeah.
The guy always lecturing me on Hebrew language?
Yes, it is.
Bro, you want to break out the Hebrew?
No, I don't. I want to say first off, I applaud you for coming on here, man. Be like straight up, showing your face. That's that takes boldness. So I appreciate that.
What's up, Michael Foster?
Michael, you are asking that distinction, moral distinction between a rapist and a man who gets raped.
Yeah. Let me ask real quick. So in Brahmin, if I'm not mistaken, Hinduism, it's kind of a pantheistic system, right? Where two nations move away from a sort of the deity, right? All is part of God, right? What's the distinction between a raper and a rapist? If all is part of Brahman, all distinctions are ultimately illusions. What's your basis for morality?
No. It's not an illusion. What happens is that it's very complicated to explain. In the unmanifested universe, that is known as Nirguna Brahman, that's devoid of forms. So when the unmanifested eternal absolute God created the universe, that's known as Saguna Brahman, or the universe which has an infinity of forms. So now, as human beings, we were sent here to experience good and evil. Like we needed to, be a kind of, this body was meant to contain all kinds of experiences, whether it be hatred, violence, love, war, sex, or anything for that matter. So when we were sent over here, even when the person rapes or gets raped, it will be predestined from the beginning itself. It was just it was part and parcel of the play, and it was meant to happen. There is nothing moral about it, but in order to experience what immorality is, you really have to go through the action. Then you'll get to know what rape is and what being raped is. Like sweet. Until and unless you've really tasted sweet in your entire life, you won't know what sweet is. Only after you put it inside your mouth, you'll know what sweet is, right? Therefore, to get a profound insight into what evil is, you literally have to become part of it. We are sent over here to experience all of it. Because see, when the person gets raped also, and the person who's doing it, even though it's evil, how come no divine being comes and intervenes and saves the person from getting raped? Why does it happen? It's bad, but it's still happening, right? And the person getting raped isn't getting saved. In war, actually, if you see, many times the enemies, to exact revenge on their on the people they fought against, they'll rape the women. They might even rape the men as well. When all this happens, there is no intervention from any divine being. It's allowed to happen.
Hey, let's back up a little bit. So I've never heard a Hindu refer to what sounds like Neoplatonic forms. Do you believe in Platonic forms like Socrates describes in Republic? Is that what you're talking about? You say the forms like an ideal that's like in a spiritual realm? What are you talking about?
Like like if you take an example, I think you'll DC's comic books is there, right? There's a story called Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Okay.
In that, you'll actually see Darkseid all along. That the whole story leads back to Darkseid.
Okay.
The new gods, they're like the very embodiments of living ideas. So they exist beyond space and time. They're the very personification of these ideas. So since they exist beyond space and time, they are not subject to the rules and regulations of space and time. It's the same thing with these deities. Deities that exist in higher dimensions aren't bound by the rules of space and time, and they are the very living embodiments of these ideas, like perfection or being good to the extreme. They're like what do you say? Living. They're like, you can say, like light bodies that embody these concepts, and they're not subject to the rules of space and time.
So, do you believe that matter is eternal?
Yeah, matter is eternal only.
Because matter's already always existed.
It just changes form.
Say again.
Matter cannot be destroyed, and since it's already existed, it only changes form. Because if you take fire, actually, fire can change an object from a solid state to a liquid state and to a gaseous state. And again, heat can be used to change things in their gaseous state back to the solid state. It happens with diamonds,
conservation of energy, the rule of conservation of energy.
Yeah.
So matter is always eternal.
Yeah.
God is eternal.
Yeah.
Is matter and God synonymous?
They are synonymous, but matter is like a lower form of God's energy. That's it. It's like a grosser form with lower levels of vibrations.
Okay. So are people made of? So people are made up of matter, and matter is identified is synonymous with God. Yeah.
Yeah. The physical body in this realm that we are existing, it's kind of made up of matter. You've got the physical body, then the body that has the life force, the pranic body, then the astral body or the mind, then you've got the causal body. So the astral body can't be destroyed so easily. You derive your life force from the sun. Without the sun, you can't derive, your body will be very weak. The sun's energies are necessary for sending energy into the different channels.
Is the sun also, it's made of matter, and the sun is also synonymous with God at some level, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, if a rapist is made of matter and identify with God, and the person that's raped is made of matter, identify with God, and all is illusion, and all is
it's not an illusion.
But it's all made of the same stuff, right? Like, does God not? Well, I guess my question for you. Let me back up.
You know what that illusion part? You know what? It's a mistake. There was a saint called I'll elaborate on that. There was a saint called Shankaracharya. He was afraid of materialistic existence. So what he did was he said that the entire world is an illusion.
Do you not believe that every human being has a piece of God in them?
That's what I'm saying.
Being a guy.
The Shankaracharya actually
is every human being not containing a piece of God?
Yeah, he does.
I don't believe that. No, I don't believe that.
Why don't you believe that?
Because God is distinct from his creation.
Because he's distinct from his creation?
Yeah, ex nihilo as opposed to ex dio.
Like there's no piece of God in you. That's what you believe.
That's right. I'm made in the image of God, like the Mona Lisa is made of the mind of Leonardo da Vinci, but there's a distinction.
Distinction.
Wait, Mr. Yahweh.
Yeah.
So you think?
Yeah, I believe that everything is a piece of God, essentially.
Shuck a ducky, man. Heresies abound. All right, going back to the Hindu guy.
Yeah, I don't really care about your fancy Christian, shame words. That doesn't.
I know.
We could just jerk ourselves off on the screen. I could care less. You feel me? It's like this,
I'm
yo.
not gonna feel you,
In
but,
the beginning, there was nothing.
So the Hindu
Right.
guy that actually has a real religion.
In the beginning, there was nothing, Michael Foster, right? So if there was nothing,
In
and
the
we
beginning,
know the
there was
creator
God.
existed,
In the beginning, there was God.
right? And so what did he create everything out of, motherfucker? He created it out of himself, bro. There was no other building materials.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
He spoke it into existence.
What did he build it out of? Out of nothing?
The word of his power is what it says.
Out of his power, but that's part of him, bro. Don't you understand?
He made it from nothing. That's
How is he omnipotent? It's because he's fucking everything. That doesn't make sense to you? It's mad simple.
It's just not what the Bible says.
I don't even need a Bible.
Well, of course
I don't worship a book. I worship the Almighty Creator. You see, that's the difference.
You worship your own intellect. I want to
You worship the book.
Has a riddle.
Let's go back. We can have this discussion.
I want to talk to this Hindu guy that has a
Right. Back to Ask Varun.
Worldview. Not some burn over loser in a basement. But I want to
Yo,
hear.
Michael Foster, I'll beat you up, bro. You better calm down.
There's no chance in the world. Tony knows better. Tony will tell you. But nonetheless, my friend that's Hindu, I really do understand. So you don't. The illusion thing's the distinction. Or you say that's not true. Okay, I feel you. I'm gonna want to give you. I want to hear what you say. How is it not? How are distinctions not illusions if they're all made of the same stuff and the same will? Is the will? What's the distinction on the will? Is there not like a some sort of uniting will behind the God stuff?
That's what the thing. See, if you study the law of cause and effect, what is the law of cause and effect? The effect is nothing but cause concealed, and cause is nothing but effect concealed. Like it's like the seed of a tree. The seed of the tree will always give eventually. It will eventually lead to the growth of the tree. And the tree was once conceived. It was once staying in a dormant form in the seed. So they both are one and the same only, right? Like you ultimately can't distinguish the two from one another. Like whatever you thought of, like as far as the effects is concerned, it is directly related to the cause, and that cause will eventually lead to the effect again. So they both are one and the same that way.
Yeah, I think this is a very significant worldview difference between you and I. That doesn't mean we can't get along, you know. But I think in a Christian worldview, there's a creator creation distinction that is significant. That the creator is self-existent, has always existed, is not identified with matter, but he calls matter, the space-time continuum, into existence by the word of his power. It's just from nothing he makes it. That's how powerful he is. He doesn't need material to make it. So it's different in the Hebrew, which I know Mike's an expert in. The Hebrew, there's a distinction between the word bara and kara, right? To truly make out of nothing and then to reshape. So he makes everything out of nothing. So I think this is a significant difference between.
I mean, what you're describing is that there was nothing.
You can get your jab in.
You're saying that he's creating it out of nothing, but what I'm saying is that you're describing the state of being as there is nothing currently, right? And there's him. We know that. Now he makes something, right? Out of that nothing, right? Of course. But what does he use as the building materials? You make a home out of a piece of land, right? But what do you use to build your house, Michael Foster? That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Mike, what is your standard?
99.9, right, to the 12th digit in nines, okay, is of all matter is empty space. You realize that, right? So that what we perceive, right, of this reality is but a small fraction of what actually is there, right? And there's different things there's different forces that we call the ether, right? And different things. But what I'm trying to explain to you is all the forces of this reality, that is what makes up Elohim. That's why it's a plural word, because he is all the forces. That's what God is, the word God.
Standard. Like, how do you, what's your ultimate standard?
That's God.
Things by? Is it your intellect? Is it a book? What is it? What is your ultimate standard?
The Almighty Creator.
So are you one with the Almighty? Does he speak to you directly?
Like we are. Yeah, I speak to the Almighty Creator directly when I pray.
So
Correct.
you and the Almighty Creator are like one. Like your words, I should accept as His word.
Well, like we are all one, and the idea that we're not all the one thing is.
So the liars and the truth tellers are all one.
Yeah, like we're all in this together, bro, because we've all lied and shit. You know what I mean?
So we're all in this together, or we all are one. Like there's no distinction between a liar or a truth teller.
There's distinction in our bodies and what we do as a person, our souls, right? But at the same time,
How
we're
do I
all
distinguish between you and a liar.
we're all created out of everything. We all have a divine spark, right? And that's
so. How do
that's
I
the Creator.
between you, your divine spark, and the divine spark of a liar?
You know, the Almighty Creator does harden people's hearts. He does blind people. He sears minds. I mean,
how do I know that your mind's not hardened and blinded and seared?
You don't. How do you know that your own mind isn't hardened and seared?
So what? I got to take a gamble on you, or what? A leap of faith?
No, you got to take a gamble on yourself, bro. I don't care what you believe.
So I got to take a gamble on myself, believing in your words are saying.
You don't have to believe my words.
I didn't say I have to.
I don't have to believe your words.
Why should
it's a two-way street, Michael Foster. Let's get to the truth.
Why should anyone care what you have to say? Should anyone care what you have to say?
Yeah, the same way that I care what Varun has to say, even though I don't believe in it.
But why should anyone care to say if they can't know?
What are you saying?
Have you thought any of this through?
What are you even saying?
Are you just some kid on the internet?
Michael Foster, are you crazy?
I mean, anyone on here listening?
You just like to hurl
Are
insults
you listening?
and try to hold yourself in some type of higher superiority in your own crazy ego?
Mike, if we can't know what you're saying is true, why should we care what you say?
We can't know what anyone's saying is true, Michael
If
Foster.
we can't know truth, why does the truth matter?
Because it should.
Why should it? That's a truth in itself.
Why should it? Why should it matter?
That's the law of non-contradiction. X can't be equal to negative X.
You're giving me math equations?
It's a basic law of thought. It's a basic law of logic.
Have you been drinking or possibly smoking crack by any chance?
You can try. Why should we care what you have to say if truth can't be known?
What are you talking about, Michael Foster?
Well, I'm talking about.
I'm trying to say we can't know what truth is. We can only try to obtain truth.
Mike, do you know what truth is? Do you know the truth?
I know the truest truth that I could know. You know what I mean?
All right. So you know the truth that you can know, but you can't know truth.
We could never know the entire truth because that is reserved for the Almighty Creator.
This is called a qualifier.
You
put a qualifier into this.
See, so in order to have the truth, right?
Any true statement.
Here's the problem with truth, right? In order to know the truth, you have to know, right? The beginning, the middle, and the end of that truth.
How do you know that you have to know the beginning, the end, and the middle of a truth?
Because if you don't know the beginning, the middle, and the end, then you don't have any context on that truth.
How do you know that you?
Because that truth could be painted in any way. You know what I'm saying? Like, as Varun believes he has the utmost truth, right? Tony believes he has the utmost truth. You believe you have the utmost truth. None of us are retards. None of us do stuff to just be wrong, right? Now, the difference is we have our truths, but what is the ultimate truth? You can't tell us. And I can't sit here and masquerade and be a liar, right? And tell you I have the utmost truth.
I think this is relativism. And this is the ultimate problem with these sort of conversations. What we have to ask ourselves is, what is our standard? How do we know things for sure? If we don't know things for sure, we're a bunch of people telling each other our preferences, our thoughts, right? And a preference is vanilla is better than chocolate. That's a preference, right? That's not a moral judgment. So how do we know that moral judgments are true?
Michael Foster, if you say the Bible, bro, I'm just going to tell you that you worship a book.
I mean, I'm just going to tell you, so what? You can't make a basic syllogism, a word that I doubt you can spell. Spell syllogism.
I don't care. Do you believe that by being able to spell syllogism that you're a better man? You know what I mean? You come accusing people of being children, you act like a child. You a grown-ass man, Michael Foster. You a preacher. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's true.
How many glasses of wine you had tonight, Michael Foster?
Not enough, man.
You turning red, brother.
You can't spell syllogism?
You look like a syllogism. You silly chism.
Yeah. Guys, I'm just saying that if we can't know truth, what are we talking about?
We, as far as life is concerned, everything is an aspect of truth. Even lies is also an aspect of truth. Like, until and unless one has not been deceived, he will not know what falsehoods and deception and lies are. So by knowing, by going through that experience, he will get to know what lies, falsehoods, and deceptions are. There are many ways to deceive. There are many ways to lie, and there are many ways to, what do you say, like hide certain facts of reality, which can also be true. So again, that way it will be linked to the truth that way. Like truth and lies, it's like two sides of the same coin, just like the robber and the policeman. So you can't have one without the other. Like you can't have the shadow without the light. They both.
The devil is deceiving the world, bro. We live in a fucking saturated information age with more lies than ever in the history of mankind. We have more false prophets than ever.
So the devil is deceiving the world. Do you know that truth to be true?
Fuck yeah.
How do you know that if you can't know the truth?
Look around, Michael Foster. Look around.
Look around?
Yeah, bro. Just like look out the window. The world is in shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you believe that, you believe that we in the end days, kind of, right? Or in the birth pains or whatever you want to call it.
So where we can agree, Mike, is that as a culture we're in a rough time.
We're gonna experience famines.
We don't,
you know what I mean? There might be a big war coming. We don't know.
That's no. We don't.
We got UFOs popping up in the sky everywhere, bro.
Some weird stuff going on out there. Some tic-tac.
Some strange shit going on.
Yeah, so
Can we?
like,
you know?
we don't.
But at the end of the day, that could be false miracles, right? False signs. So like, there's fucking. It's crazy right now. Who really can have the truth, Michael Foster? That's what I'm trying to say.
My point is that I'm willing to give to you on things where I think you're right. I'm not just opposed to you. I'm not gonna take a stand against you on every point where I think you're right. You're right. I'll give you credit where credit's due. But if we can't know truth, so there's three basic laws of logic. Okay, law of identity: X is equal to X. Right? Apple can never not be Apple. Right? So whatever the attribute is or variable it is, it's always going to be equal to itself. There's law of excluded middle, a little complicated to explain, but for another time. And there's law of non-contradiction. The opposite of something cannot be equal to that something. So X cannot be equal to negative X. They're called the three laws of thought. Okay, they're like basic laws of logic. They're immaterial and binding on all things. They're the basis of the scientific method, how we know things.
So then what if I told you you're doing sorcery? Would you believe me?
Well, the word sorcery comes from the same word for pharmaceutical, right? It's related to drug use in scripture.
No. I'm talking about magic.
You think logic's magic?
Sorcery, bro. Forbidden by the scriptures. But you're doing it right now.
So you think logic's forbidden by the scriptures?
No, not logic. I'm talking about like literally right now we're communicating with sorcery.
Go on, explain.
So we're on these devices, right? Inside these devices, you got computer chips, which are literally mapped after alchemical sigils from magic. And we're powering them with literally electricity, which is, you know what I'm saying, man harnessing the power of, Lucifer, which is the electrical demons and the electrical gods. And that's why our time is so wicked, because all these kids' minds is being corrupted by these cyber demons and these cyber sigils. When you turn off your phone, it turns into a black mirror. Look into black mirrors and occultism.
So you think the internet's sorcery?
I'm saying everything about all this technology is all sorcery. All of it.
Okay. Nonetheless, I think
it'll corrupt you. Like, it's just a matter of how much you let it corrupt you and your family. It's a matter of how much. It will corrupt up to, You know what I mean? The content that they get into, the content we get into, it will corrupt our minds. When we start going down rabbit holes, that will fuck with your conscious, you know what I mean, with your consciousness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I agree with the sorcery part, but I do agree that the internet has opened up doors for
electricity is not good for us.
I like it. I like air conditioning.
I mean, I like the convenience, but realistically, on a health level, it causes electromagnetic disruptions, like on a large scale, right, in the earth and with people, like all over these cities and stuff. We're experiencing all kinds of saturations of radio frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies, and they do have health problems that have been documented.
What about this chill music, though? What about this chill music?
Music? No, I'm not talking about that kind of frequency.
Music doesn't it make you feel like you want to, like, you know, vibe a little bit?
So certain musics can be also magic and sorcery.
I mean, this guy's got his wife in the background cleaning things up. This is crazy.
No, that's his mom, bro. That's Mrs. Varun. Yeah.
No, that is a maid, actually. She's actually cleaning.
That's his maid.
Yeah, Varun's family is high up on the caste system.
I was gonna say, yeah, this is not no Dalit we're dealing with here. No. What caste do you fall into, man?
I'm somewhat like the Brahmin caste only, where Lingayats are actually like Brahmins only.
Do you believe that? Do you believe
priestly class? We're the priestly class.
Do you believe in that? So you think that the caste system's right? So like the elites are a real thing, or no?
No, it was created for social convenience. Like, you would have to have a set of people who are into academics and who are into intellectual pursuits. Then you'd have to have a set of people who are into safeguarding the interests of the society, protecting them, like warriors, firefighters, police officers. Then you'd have to have a merchant class as well. And then people who would serve all of this. It's like, that's how society functions, right? You need a warrior class, a merchant class, a priestly class. It was done for social benefit. But then what happened was that gradually over a period of time, it became more racial in nature. It became hierarchical. Like, if your father is a nobleman, you have to follow his footsteps. Yeah. Before, it was like flexible. Anyone could become anything. But over a period of time, it became very rigid and hierarchical.
Let me ask you a quick question on that. So let's talk about reincarnation. So does reincarnation keep a stasis? In other words, people on the whole, does reincarnation cause people to get better?
Yeah, it can.
Or worse? And if reincarnation causes people to get better, is this the better world that reincarnation has created?
We actually went over a lot of this earlier.
Okay.
No, we did. No, but go ahead, answer him, Varun. Yeah, I asked this exact same question. In other words, can you keep getting better as
you can, because like when you look at many people who are rich, many people are doing well. No, they just start from scratch. They just, even if they touch dust, it turns into gold. I mean, there are many people who also try to do the same thing, but they don't do it well. And then these people become very rich over a period of time. So how is it that they're able to do it? And they're not even smart as well. They just took a gamble and they became rich. So the concept of reincarnation will be able to explain how much fortune the person has in another dimension in the body. A human being's fortune exists in a particular dimension in the body, but you need like divine eyesight or clairvoyance to see that. So if that is very high and strong, he'll be healthy and fit, and he'll be doing really well. He'll become an authoritative person, and luck will always smile upon him. If there's a lot of dark energy, which can again be visibly seen through a clairvoyant person's eyes, he won't rise up in life. He'll be suffering all the time. He'll have a lot of diseases, and no matter what he does, he'll be stuck in that same muddle. But after he dies, that's why death is actually a merciful thing. Life is more ruthless than death. Death, at least, it erases everything. And when you're reborn in such a way, your genetic material is in perfect alignment with the movement of the heavenly bodies on that specific date that you're born in. So the cosmos influences your genes as well, your genetic material, and that will enable you to succeed at things at a much faster rate. Like, let's say you want to succeed at something. On other realms, to change your genes, it's very tough. Even the gods want to be born over here, because through a few births, they can rise higher, probably like for us, like let's say like 1,000 years for us is like a minute or something like that for them in higher dimensions. So within a short span of time, you can rise high over here. So you can improve yourself as you go birth after birth. That the very fact that there are kings, people who are born into very wealthy families who don't have to shed a drop of sweat, who don't have to toil at all, they're born with all the luxuries, explains that reincarnation kind of fits into it. Otherwise, you look at someone, they're born with so many diseases, nothing that they do, they don't succeed at anything in life. And then there are some people who are very unattractive and they marry very attractive women also and they have children with them. All these perplexing, contradictory aspects in reality can be properly explained through the concept of reincarnation and rebirth.
Yeah, Michael Foster, we even went down the rabbit hole. You need to listen to the first 2 hours of this. The rabbit hole of abortion in reincarnation. We kind of tied that in, as Varun did, into like, how does abortion tie into reincarnation? So,
Varun, what do you think about Christianity, if I can ask you? What do you think about, so in Christianity, God made everything from nothing. He's an eternal Trinity that's existed forever and ever and ever. And Adam and Eve were created people.
Adam and Eve, that story is there actually. Adam and Eve is an esoteric story. If you take it literally, it won't make sense. There's an esoteric story for Adam and Eve. And when they talk about nothing, they actually didn't know how to define a reality that's higher than our...
Doesn't it come from Samaria, Varun?
Huh?
Isn't it borrowed from Samaria?
No, it has an esoteric meaning actually. Adam and Eve story. 1 minute.
I'm saying the Adam and Eve story was taken from, I believe, Samaria.
Yeah, but they again, when they take it from Sumeria, they talk about
because Moses wasn't there anyway in Adam and Eve. You know what I'm saying? Like he obviously, it wasn't an eyewitness account. You know what I'm saying?
Revealed it to him.
Yeah, but like if people already had the history of it, it would be the same shit.
But right? When they talk about Adam and Eve, they go back to Enki and Enlil and how an alien actually created those two. But then again, it's not the esoteric story. It's the same story being told in a different culture. Adam and Eve has an esoteric story. Many stories in the Bible have esoteric knowledge hidden in the form of stories. They can't literally be.
What if? Let me ask you real quick though. What if your stories are an echo of the true story of Scripture? What if like it's not the esoteric story? Like, what if it is the prototypical story? It's the archetypical story from which all stories get their stories.
Yeah, but see, literally,
I would say that would be a really big claim for your story.
It's the one I'm making.
Yeah, but any one of those people that have the same similar story could claim that about yours and try to just generalize your story with their story, right? With the other ones. And it's, you know what I'm saying? So you see where the problem is with that logic, right?
The logic's not problematic. You'd have to be able to demonstrate it.
If you really break down what you believe.
Numbers predates like the Babylonian exile.
I mean, so you're saying it just so happens that like almost every aspect of like Christianity is borrowed from pagan religions?
It's not. No.
Oh, all right.
Pagan religions copied Christianity.
They copied it.
That's exactly right.
They copied it before it happened, though. You're saying they copied it prior.
What are you talking about?
So like Isis, Horus, you know what I mean? All these fucking
Horus,
Virgin
Babylon,
Mother stories.
All that stuff is echoing the messianic promise made early in.
Yeah, I mean, so that's why in the gospel you got the virgin birth, right? Because they were trying to echo those other pagan religions, but here's the problem.
Religions echoed that, echoed them previously.
I mean,
and all like take the
there's a big problem with that, though, yo. The prophecy that they're using to justify that virgin birth doesn't say virgin; it says young woman.
So when I listen to these things, I can tell someone that is a heretic who doesn't know.
Yeah, it says young woman in the Hebrew. They're Alma, not Betula, which is virgin. So they actually just invented it to make a divine birth.
This is a long conversation.
Yeah, it is. I was going to say this is a whole nother rabbit hole. But
We don't
yeah,
gotta go down that rabbit hole.
anybody that's just joined us now, if like a lot of these questions we could talk about with Varun.
Let me ask Varun. Let me ask more Hindu questions. I'm more interested. So are you in India or Pakistan?
India.
Okay, very cool. So in India, tell me a little bit about how if you haven't already, forgive me if you have. Okay, tell me a little bit about the husband-wife relationship. Is the husband the leader, and if he is the leader, what form does that take?
Over here, see, the urban areas of India have succumbed to Western influence. So in the urban areas, divorces have shot up, relationships are crumbling in the urban areas. Rural areas, it's still a male-dominated society. Rural areas, it's like everything is like decided by the man. Urban areas, it's like a Western society only.
Yeah, we actually went over this earlier too about how Western society has changed. We talked about even marrying down in the caste system, how it's more accepted now.
Yeah, but many things that were very rigid back then, they have watered down. In the olden days, leaving your country and traveling on a ship, on a sea-based journey itself was taboo, because they were scared that if you travel to a foreign country, you lose your roots with this country. You might get corrupted by their influence. It was forbidden to do even that also. All that has eased actually to a great extent, but rural areas, it's very conservative. Urban areas, it's just like it's become like the way it is in these liberal cities in the US.
That's interesting to me. Yeah. So, what is the India's opinion on like Western missionaries? How do you guys perceive them?
No, I mean, like what happens is that when the Western Christian missionaries come here, there'll be a lot of low caste Hindus will be treated very badly. Even to this day, many of them are treated badly. To escape that, they'll convert off to Christianity or Islam or Buddhism, because they want a better social status. So when these missionaries come, it depends. These missionaries will know where to go, and they'll accept that religion actually.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the reports I read from Western missionaries on Hindu conversions aren't exactly honest. I think there's other factors at play. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a deep heart belief, but a socio-economic movement.
Yeah, I mean, like, see, ever since the age of darkness began, human beings have always worshipped false gods only. Like we've been more attached to power, religion. I mean, we've been attached more to power, money, fame, lust, and other pleasures. We just used religion as an excuse to get all of that. Even if you go to any person, why will they want to follow your religion until unless it doesn't give them what they want in a materialistic plane? Everyone actually, what they do is they follow religion in today's world as an excuse to get all these pleasures and this power and this wealth, probably in the belief that they might get it in the afterlife. It's basically for economic gains only people follow religion. And again, to increase their power and influence. So ever since the age of darkness began, whether he's a Christian or a Buddhist or a Muslim or a Hindu, we've only been worshipping power, money, and pleasure. We've not worshipped God out of that genuine feeling to know God. Most of the human beings are corrupt today. Religion is a scam only today in today's world. Whether it's run by a Hindu institution or a Christian, Buddhist, or Islamist institution, all they care about is making money. Even the rulers in the olden days, they would support these people like the clergy or the priestly class because they wanted to use that as to spread their influence and power. If they went against them, they would undermine their authority. They were scared of losing their authority and wealth. So it's always been about that. So we've always worshipped false gods.
Fascinating.
Yeah, we got deep tonight, Michael.
Northern or Southern Indiana?
You've got to
Southern.
Listen, like to the first 2 hours. You have to. We had a lot of questions. Like I said, we were kind of going down the Hindu rabbit hole with how it ties in with astrology and things like that. I think you'll be very interested in the take on abortion and reincarnation. I think
Hindu is the king of the rabbit hole, bro.
So,
yeah. Have you played Street Fighter 2? And what do you think about the holism?
I've played Street Fighter 1, but I've not played Street Fighter 2. It was those old video games like Contra Street Fighter. I've played it, but not Part 2.
All right. Part 2's got an Indian guy in it. That can stretch his legs.
Dalsim, yeah.
Bro, that guy's the best in the game, bro.
Yeah, he's that little flippy thing he does. He's got a really good sweep too.
You could jump up in the air, bro, and do the angle kick, bro, and they can't even get near you. You can just straight angle kick them.
That's the helicopter kick.
United the forum here.
And then he does the double arms, bro. The double arms.
That's right.
Well, guys, I'm going to start wrapping it up. I really thank everybody for coming on. Like I said, it was an evening with Varun, and really to talk about the Hindu philosophy, lifestyle. And it's funny, listening tonight on how many similarities, I would say, there are between different religions. And I guess it's everybody's choice on which they choose. Would you call that free will? I mean, as Varun, on which religion you choose?
I from my experience, after having seen so many people's horoscopes and seeing everything unfold in their life, I think there's no free will. I think there's God's will, and that's it. We're just like puppets in the hands of God. Whatever we have to experience, it's God's will. That's all.
Wow.
It goes back to that rapee question, but anyway, go on.
Yo, what if the rapee was a rapist in their past life, and now they live a life where they get raped?
Yeah, down the rabbit hole we go.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if rape is a very serious crime. When the act of rape happens, why doesn't a demigod or an angel come and rescue the person from getting raped? I mean, it's a sin, right? Why does it happen?
Demigod's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you can just say God himself has created these evils for us to experience. That's it. Huh?
I was saying, shit's wild in the hood. Pow, pow, pow. You know what I mean?
All right, well, let's go around the panel real quick. Let's start with Mike. Any final words?
Bro, shit's wild in the hood, bro. Shit's wild in the multiverse hood. You know what I'm saying? Shit's all crazy. Yo, I'm gonna be honest. I think they're even altering the past. You know what I mean? And corrupting the Bible, bro, from the past, or from the future.
Like time travel?
Yeah, bro. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's exactly time travel, but you know how they're messing with them particle accelerators, and people are saying there's the Mandela effect, bro. I think that they're doing stuff to try to, because you got to understand, if you can manipulate something in the Bible, you can manipulate like every book that was ever written, because that it was the first book ever written. You know what I'm saying? But like the first thing ever really made into codex, bro. You know what I'm saying? So if you corrupt the Bible, this is the foundation of like what all the literature is based off of. And they could change the world by editing different things. So I do think they're messing with the Bible, bro, because there's a verse where it used to say, and the lion will lay with the lamb and shit. Now it says like, and a wolf will lay with the lamb. And I'm telling you, I was sure it said the lion would lay with the lamb. But now it says a wolf will lay with the lamb. And yo, I'm telling you, there's a whole big conspiracy going on right now that they're editing the Bible with that CERN machine.
No, I mean, see, the thing about the art,
and that's how we're all in crazy confusion. You know what I'm saying? And I know I've read the Bible and I've seen verses, and I've went to go back arguing with somebody and pull that verse out, and I couldn't find it. It didn't exist no more. So.
No, but
yeah, shit's wild in the hood.
I think, see, if you have to alter the past or from the future, if that were the case, we wouldn't remember what happened in the past.
I believe because we didn't love the truth, the Almighty has basically taken the truth away from us and caused us to run through this maze of chaos to get back to the truth. And so that we'll appreciate it when he gives it back to us, basically. I'm going to be real with you. So.
Well, I'm going to go to Michael Foster. Any final words?
How do you follow up that? You know, I mean, I just think that Biff got that manual that allowed him to know how to bet on the right things in Back to the Future Part 2 and reshape our entire history. And Doc and Marty tried their best to stop him, but they didn't, Tony. And now the Bible's being changed, man. Like Marty McFly and Doc Brown, they failed.
And the devil deceived the world, Michael Foster. Just remember, how's he going to do that? If we all got the truth, right?
And Marty McFly in Back to the Future Part 2. So, Tony, I'm disturbed that Steven Spielberg was so brazen to show us how
it's done.
This time crime would be committed.
Bro, we had Biff as a president, all right? It was predicted. It was a prophecy, all right? 1776 gigawatts, bro. I don't know what it is.
All right, that's all I got to say.
Well, we're going to go to the guest of honor, Az Varun. Got a couple minutes and some final words. I do appreciate you coming on tonight, man. It's flown by. We went over so many things, and anybody new just watching, started from the beginning. Super interesting conversation with Az Varun, and we will have a stream night with we'll call it Michael versus Mike.
No,
it would be fun, and we do need a hardcore moderator, and I would moderate. So I think we'd leave all ad homs out, and I think we could call it the Battle of Scriptures.
Yeah, I understand, bro. I do love the truth, and I'm trying to get to it. So if you know what I mean? If you want to put truth together, bro, put some truth together.
I think Michael Foster understands that. There's always.
I'm never not a fighter, man. I'm a uniter. I'm here to just bring the love, Tony. That's all I am. I'm like the white, very white.
The white.
Sometimes you gotta beat somebody's ass that you love, though.
Yeah,
true, man.
But I would encourage you to go back and listen, Michael Foster. I think you're gonna have those facial expressions, which we love all the time here. I love when you're sitting and listening, and you make the expressions on your face, and those are just classic throughout the past, especially over the past year. They just, even if I go back occasionally and look, it's I've had people reach out to me and say that, like, Foster's expressions are the best.
I'm trying to take it in. I'm trying to actually listen to what people are saying. Like, I want to understand. Like, Varun, first off, I appreciate you answering my questions with detail and respect. I do truly appreciate that. I do want to understand what you believe. Want to get it right. So thank you.
Well, let's go to Az Varun. Az Varun, again, you're the special guest of the night. You got any final words for everybody?
No, I mean, like, the Adam and Eve story, I've got the esoteric meaning of that story, and I regret the fact that there was this guy called Yukteswar. He had written the esoteric meaning behind every stories of the Bible. He is given in detail what the Adam and Eve story actually means. But the work that he had made, like his work, it's lost. So I regret that I can't get that whole thing. That will uncode every hidden meaning behind every story in the Bible. So this Adam and Eve story, actually, he's given the esoteric knowledge of that story. I think it's just 2 pages. You don't mind if I read it?
Oh, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The Adam and Eve story is incomprehensible to me. I observed with considerable heat one day in my early struggles with the allegory. Why did God punish not only the guilty pair, but also the innocent unborn generations? Master was amused more by my vehemence than by my ignorance. Genesis is deeply symbolic and cannot be grasped by literal interpretation. He explained. Its tree of life is the human body. The spinal cord is like an upturned tree with man's hair as its roots, and efferent nerves as branches. The tree of the nervous system bears many enjoyable fruits or sensations of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. In these, man may rightfully indulge, but he was forbidden the experience of sex, the apple at the center of the body in the midst of the garden. The serpent represents the coiled up spinal energy that stimulates the sex nerves. Adam is reason, Eve is feeling. When the emotion or Eve consciousness in any human being is overpowered by the sex impulse, his reason or Adam also succumbs. God created the human species by materializing the bodies of man and woman through the force of his will. He endowed the new species with the power to create children in a similar, immaculate, or divine manner. Because his manifestations in the individualized soul had hitherto been limited to animals, instinct bound and lacking the potentialities of full reason, God made the first human bodies symbolically called Adam and Eve. To these, for advantageous upward evolution, he transferred the souls or divine essence of two animals. In Adam or man, reason predominated. In Eve or woman, feeling was ascendant. Thus was expressed the duality or polarity that underlines the phenomenal worlds. Reason and feeling remain in a heaven of cooperative joy, so long as the human mind is not tricked by the serpentine energy of animal propensities. The human body was therefore not solely a result of evolution from beasts, but was produced through an act of special creation by God. The animal forms were too crude to express full divinity. Man was uniquely given the potential omniscient thousand-petal lotus in the brain, as well as actually awakened occult centers in the spine. God, or the divine consciousness present within the first created pair, counseled them to enjoy all human sensibilities with one exception, sex sensation. These were banned lest humanity enmesh itself in the inferior animal method of propagation. The warning not to revive subconsciously present bestial memories was unheeded. Resuming the way of brute procreation, Adam and Eve fell from the state of heavenly joy natural to the original perfect man. When they knew that they were naked, their consciousness of immortality was lost, even as God had warned them. They had placed themselves under the physical law by which bodily birth must be followed by bodily death. The knowledge of good and evil promised Eve by the serpent refers to the dualistic and oppositional experiences that mortals under Maya must undergo. Falling into delusion through misuse of his feelings and reason, or Eve and Adam consciousness, man relinquishes his rights to enter the heavenly garden of divine self-sufficiency. The personal responsibility of every human being is to restore his parents or dual nature to a unified harmony of Eden. Like, this is the esoteric story of Adam and Eve. Like this, many stories will have a hidden meaning. This guy discovered it, but his works were lost.
Yeah, Adam and Eve exist. The story existed predates Moses for sure.
Yeah, not just that. The thing is, if you literally take Adam and Eve story, it won't make sense. It will be true with the hidden meaning behind it. Literally, it's not logical because two people through brute procreation have given birth now to 8 billion people, and we have different races in human beings. Now, if the couple are Caucasians, the children have to have Caucasian features. But if the couple are Caucasian, how is it that their children are black? Then they have indigenous American features or Chinese features or Indian features.
That's the basic of Punnett squares, my friend. That's super easy to demonstrate.
No, but logically it can't make sense. And then again, see, those two children will again.
It's obviously not literal because there's no such fucking thing as a tree that has fruit of knowledge of good and evil. All right,
it's esoteric actually.
Like, there's no actual tree of fruit. When you eat fruit, you have knowledge now. I'm smart now. I've eaten this fruit. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there is one, show me where it's at. You know what I mean? Because there is no fruit of tree. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying, right? So, like, so it's obviously not a literal story. You know what I mean?
It is a literal story.
It's literal. We're all cursed for eternity because one person ate a fucking apple.
It doesn't say apple.
A fruit.
It's not apple.
One person ate a fruit from a tree.
One person rebelled.
Of knowledge.
Two people rebelled against God according to knowledge.
They rebelled against him by eating a fruit of knowledge of good and evil. What does that mean?
The one single rule they weren't to break.
Right.
And they had the whole world to themselves. That's right.
Okay, so now since they broke that one rule, they couldn't even keep that one rule. Now the Almighty gave us mad rules
to demonstrate our sinfulness and our need for the Savior. that would be given to us through free grace. That's right.
And then give us less rules.
Didn't give us less rules, give us a new heart that wants to obey those rules.
Okay, so then he gave us a new heart that wants to obey the rules that weren't even there in the beginning.
No, that's it's amazing the power of the Holy Spirit, how he gives you ability to bear with patience with people.
Patience.
That's right, patience.
Not patience. Like, see, they were forbidden from having sex. By having sex, they lost their state of.
No. They were commanded to be fruitful and multiply, my friend. As Genesis 1:28.
Yeah, but the thing is,
it's not asexual.
If they do it through brute procreation, it doesn't work like that. They did this mistake, and that's how they lost it. We human beings in the late age could just stare at a woman with intense affection, and she could conceive a child. They could wipe their sweat off, and the child was born. By sexually reproducing, you're creating animal nature. You're making animalistic nature in man very strong. They were not supposed to do that. That's the meaning of the story.
The penis is shaped in such a way to enter the vagina.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're not supposed to use.
It explodes the sperm into her, which then fertilizes the egg and makes a person.
By losing your vital fluid, you're again dropping down to a lower level. You're supposed to preserve your vital fluid. You're not supposed to use it for pleasures. But in today's world, it's the opposite. Everyone is pursuing that only. Like, they can't live without it. We were forbidden from doing it.
It's true. If you bust too many nuts, you'll be a miserable fuck.
Yeah, you'll fall prey
to
disease.
And you'll be real low energy.
Yeah, your
like
body
like Joe Biden.
Yeah, we kind of went over that earlier too. About the
no, because see, one thing actually is, we can look at this with the Western doctors will say masturbation and sex is very healthy. It's a stress buster. Now, athletes are more fit than normal human beings because they've got better strength. They're always playing. They're selected for playing in the NFL, NBA, or you see MMA fighters as well. But after 30, you start seeing a decline in their performance. By the time they're 40, they retire. Now, according to Western doctors, if you eat properly, sleep and exercise, your body will be healthy. It doesn't matter if you lose semen. But if that's the case, these athletes, they're more healthier than normal human beings. They're eating the right amount, they're sleeping, and they're exercising. Decade after decade, why aren't they growing stronger? What do you mean by they're growing old? Old means they're becoming weaker and weaker. So as per the modern physicians, at least they're doing everything correctly, still they're becoming weaker and weaker and they have to retire. That doesn't make sense actually, man. How is it that sex doesn't matter at all over here? So they're eating properly, they're exercising, they're sleeping. Why is it that at the age of 50, they're not better than what they were at the age of 20? They should be stronger, right?
I think there's a lot of agreement between this. I think actually, I grew up boxing. I got a gym in my garage, and I know a lot of professional boxers. My son trained under, world champions, and boxers don't have sex several months before they box. Straight up, they don't. Because it weakens them. Everyone knows it. It's a fact. I mean, like,
I played football. You weren't allowed to beat off in football, bro, because it makes you weak.
You don't do it. You
weren't supposed to really have girlfriends like that. You know what I mean?
I broke up with every girl I ever dated coming into a wrestling season. I always did because I wanted to win. And so I'm not saying that there's not. I think there's something to what you're saying. Actually, I don't agree with the whole picture, but I don't disagree either. I think we discount that more than we should in the West. I think the West creates a divide between the spiritual man and the physical man that just doesn't exist. I think they're connected in a way that's significant. That we should.
No, the reason why, actually, see, the church started misusing religion to enrich itself. So after a lot of wars, state and religion was made separate. But now that after state and religion were made separate, people became more interested in materialism. They've always been more interested, and they would only pray to God in the olden days to give them more materialistic benefits. Now, actually, there was nothing to hold them back, and they fully immersed themselves into materialism. That's what happened, actually. Otherwise, all religious institutions, I've noticed this. In the beginning, a savior will come. He will teach high spiritual morals and values to people. Then what will happen is that they will build an institution around his teachings. They will appoint people in charge of this institution. As that institution grows more and more, it will become corrupt and become commercialized, and then it will go for a downfall. That's it. It happens to every religion. It starts with a noble man. His teachings get institutionalized. It becomes a commercial entity, and it goes down the drain. So it's better to separate state and religion that way. It's more personal.
You separate state and church. No state's ever religiously neutral. I think every state ends up having a worldview of some sort. It can't be neutral by design. Anyway, I appreciate the things you have to say. Thank you for taking the time to talk to someone like me in the States you don't know at all. I really appreciate it, and hope you have a good life over there in India.
Which state do you stay in, Michael Foster?
I am in Ohio, the heartland. We are the heart of the United States. We're going to take over the whole thing. So that's right in the middle, kind of. I'm at the end of Tornado Alley. So, and then Mike, you're giving your dad. I get the sense you guys are what, New York or Jersey or something?
Nah, bro, I'm right out here in the Ozarks, bro.
Are you really in the Ozarks?
Yeah.
So as a boy, I used to go out to Silver Dollar City. Young boy out there in Branson.
I know where that's at, bro.
I was born in Independence, Missouri, and which is right by Kansas City. We used to go out to Ozarks. Ozarks are crazy. There ain't no easy way to get anywhere.
I live at the top of a hill, up a bunch of dirt roads. You know what I'm saying? Just deep in the woods.
Yep, I do.
You know what I mean?
It's like circles. Like everything's in circles to get around these lakes and all that.
I'm from the city. I lived in New York my whole life, and I lived in Miami, right? And I was like, in the banking industry and shit. But I had a kid, and I decided to start raising my kids out here and following, the Almighty, and just doing, you know what I'm saying? Doing the thing with the land and doing a homestead type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's where it's at.
You got a lot more in Foster and Michael Foster and Mike got a lot more in common.
I got chickens. I got the chickens. We got the pigs that come in. We got some acreage out here. Yeah. We're always busy.
Tony, you own a software company, or are you a building contractor? What do you do exactly?
Tony's basically the Mark Zuckerberg of YouTube, as far as we're concerned.
No, I mean, I just asked actually, do you own a restaurant?
I'm a contractor. I do remodeling.
Oh, like an interior design decorator or something? Interior decorator?
No. Remodeling. In other words, if you want a wall removed and I do it. If you want a new bathroom, a new kitchen, I build it.
You want a new wedding dress or something?
Yeah. If you want crown molding in your house or new baseboards, that's what I do. If you have a rotten wood, I fix it. So that's what I do.
Okay.
And I've got a little house across from the beach here, man, in Florida. So.
You stay in Indiana Creek or Palm Island?
I'm sorry? I can't give my exact location.
Indian Creek or Palm Island? Oh, okay, fine.
Washington, D.C., that big white house.
I'm in Florida, and I'm 500 foot from the beach. That's all I'll say. So, but as Varun, I want to thank you for coming on tonight, man. I had a ball. This is great. And again, anybody just coming in now, check out the first couple hours for sure. We got in deep. We got in deep to reincarnation, astrology, quite a few different things. Really a good conversation for sure. But as Varun, I appreciate your time, man. This is great. Yeah. We'll have to do this again because, man, we can just keep going. We could go for 10 hours, I think. So, anything you want to say to the people out there before we go?
I mean, I'm just happy they came, and I am happy we had this conversation.
Thank you. And I appreciate you coming on. So, and I appreciate everybody in the chat. Michael Foster's back for the ending real quick, but
sorry.
That's all right. Everybody, thank you for coming here to Thursday Night Reality Check. And I will see
Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah,
you already know, dog.
Mike and Michael Foster, of course. And of course, our special guest, Az Varun, man. Great time. Love it. And I'm so glad you spent this time with us tonight, man. It was awesome. Appreciate you. And I'll talk to you soon. You can stay backstage, Az Varun.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.